the I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
Kevin.
Yes.
Dude, good to see you. I think I was looking at it. I think you're my fastest repeat guest now.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah.
All because of running.
Yeah. When you asked me to come back on, I was super excited. I had a lot of fun last time, so it's good to be back.
Yeah, dude. And you've had a lot of changes, man.
Oh,
a lot of interesting stuff. One of the first things, though, right out of the gate is why? Why do you want to run a marathon?
Yeah.
I'm down for it, but it's dumb.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It's very dumb. It's actually really funny that you asked that. So a few months ago, I fell asleep as we do as humans, and I had a dream that I was running a marathon. I just had a dream that I was running one, and I woke up. And I don't know what it was. Something took over me. And I remember I posted it on my Instagram story. I was like, I had a dream I was running a marathon. I guess that means I'm going to run a marathon. So by the end of the year, I will run a marathon. And then that day, after years of not running or being in shape, like at least running shape, I started running again. And then, it tapered off for a little bit. And, I would do every, like maybe once or twice a week I would run, but then it didn't get that serious. Then I saw you post, and I swear, dude, the stars aligned. It was kind of like God was telling me I had to do it.
Yeah,
you were like,
people don't know there's like a DFW comedy community
Yes.
Facebook group, and I just threw it out there. And it made me, I didn't know how that was going to go. Because you saw very quickly, it's all the smart-ass comics who are just like, not here, nope, good luck, haha, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, somebody out there. One person's going to do it.
When I saw that, man, I swear everything fell into place. I was like, this is what I have to do. I have to do this because I told myself I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And all because of a dream. And then you posted it. And I knew when I opened it up, I was like, oh, there's a bunch of comments. I'm sure it's a bunch of yeah, right.
Of course.
Can I walk? And I was like, no, I will. If you want someone who will really dive into it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I haven't looked back since. It's been,
It's exciting, man. I've done several now, but the first one was that was still the worst time. It took me the longest, but it was still the most exciting.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so it's now I'm getting hyped again. Michael Pasvar was the one who ran the first one with me.
Right.
Him and his buddy Sonny, they were doing a thing called the Juicy Joggers. And I was working on Pasvar's podcast, recording it, and they were talking about, doing that. And originally they were going to do it in 2020, but COVID canceled the marathon. So they went through this whole training plan. But then in 2021, they decided they were going to do it again. So I was like, I'm going to hop on this time. I want to do it,
Exactly.
Same kind of epiphany. You just hit that point where you're like, I need to do something.
Yeah, because I was fighting for a while. I just decided to get, I was looking for an excuse to come back to being a bit more aggressive. I had been telling myself this was more of an internal struggle when I had, I've been married for a while now. I just had my kid. I have a baby girl, and things slowed down. I got
This
fat.
was my exact scenario.
I got fat, got out of shape, I got slow, and I got soft. And I didn't, especially coming from the Marine Corps, I was like, I can't lose that edge.
Yeah.
So as I joined a gym and started fighting, and that, some circumstances took me away from that, especially moving. We bought a new house and everything, and I was too far to compete with these guys anymore. But when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that sounds hard. That sounds like it sucks. Let's do that. Yeah, let's run.
Yeah. My catalyst was my younger sister. It was a couple of years before I ever actually decided I was going to run a marathon. But she was running a lot, and she was talking about how she wanted to get faster. Yeah. And I ran, I played soccer, basketball, I ran track, and I know what I need to do. Right.
Yeah.
And she was talking about getting faster, so I was talking to her about intervals and stuff, and she kind of gave this look of when was the last time you run? She said something like that. And that immediately, my wife saw it. I was like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, dude. See, that's the thing,
too. And then it's when that opportunity came up, I was like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
I'm going to do
absolutely.
it.
You have to. You have to throw yourself into it. And that's the thing. I'm a little bit different from you in the fact that growing up, I was not very athletic. If I was on the football team, terrible. Okay. I was wrestling, only made JV, never was a varsity wrestler or anything like that. I was not fast. I'm extremely flat-footed. Always was the fat kid, so Now,
Wait,
the only
so
time
you were the fat kid?
Oh yeah, dude. I
But
was
that picture you sent me in the military where you said you're 150 pounds. You're like
Oh, yeah.
skinny as a rail.
Well, that's
man.
that's because it was in the military. I
Whoa.
was starved for 13 weeks and broken, but growing up, I was maybe like 5 foot, 125 pounds already in like fourth grade, fifth grade, which was a little butterball. And I didn't really start getting tall and losing weight until I was in like 9th, 10th grade. That's when all the the fat jokes kind of stopped. That's when they stopped because they were like, well, I guess he's not fat anymore.
Yeah, you grew into it.
Exactly. And then I wasn't very athletic. I didn't lift weights. I didn't do anything until I got into the Marine Corps, and then it was all we're running every day, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, hard runs. I mean, even when I was in the schoolhouse, I remember when I was getting my schooling to go into the fleet, I had a teacher, an instructor who was out of his mind, and Gunnery Sergeant Sill, God rest his soul, he's a great guy, but he told us, he was like, every Monday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, we're going to go run. Or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And he goes, Fridays, we're going to do long distance. And I just remember he killed us weekly on runs. And then one day we ran like 16 miles nonstop. And I didn't even know we had done it. Nonstop running. We ran 16 miles. And he was like, congrats, you finished over half a marathon.
Yeah, well over.
Yeah. And he was like, just because I wanted it. I wanted you to do it. And that's the thing. I don't know how to train. Yeah. All I know is how to I know how to stupid train, which is like just do it, go heavy, go fast, go whatever.
Yeah.
And then, don't stretch, don't eat well, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I've completed 6, none of them with like an impressive time, just completed.
That's still a pretty big feat.
Well, after I did the first one, my same sister who was like smack talking.
Yeah.
She was talking to me about the first one, like we're in like a group text, like it's like me, my wife, her husband, and somehow or another it came up. She's like, well, like how did you like get through running the whole thing or something? And I said like, well, you just run, and then like when you need a break, you walk for a minute, and then you pick it back up and you go.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, so you walked. Like that doesn't count.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay.
And so then I got like angry,
and
I looked for the next marathon I could find, because that was the Dallas Marathon in December, and the next one that was reasonable was February in Fort Worth. So I was like,
yeah.
And I was just like, fuck this. Like this isn't a
That's
fluke.
2 months.
This isn't a fluke. I'm going to do this. And
Yeah.
so I did it, ran the whole thing, got a better time.
Holy crap. Yeah, that's insane.
And this time it's like, when I say walking, it was literally the only reason I did any walking steps was like when you pick up the little cups of water at the stage, just so I could actually drink it and wasn't sloshing it everywhere.
Yeah.
That was it. And then it was back on it. And she's like, oh, so you ran it. I was like, yeah, fucking ran.
Yeah,
but,
ran that.
But after that, it's the same thing you're talking about. It's like, now I'm a dad. I've been married for a little while, and like you're not doing as many athletic things as you used to do that you're capable of.
Exactly.
And so I was like, as long as I can do it, I think I want to do the Dallas and Fort Worth back to back like that. Just forever.
That's gnarly, yeah.
Well, you'll see. Like, I don't want to spoil a bunch of surprises, because I think the first one was so eye-opening in so many ways. But you're gonna see these people out there, and it's like you sound like the type of person where you're gonna get pretty inspired by it while you're doing it.
Absolutely.
But the whole first marathon experience to me was just a series of like, what the fuck? Like, you look at someone where you're like, how are they doing this?
Yeah.
And how are they doing it better than me?
Yeah, I see. And that's the thing, like now that I'm running and I'm on, social media looking at people running and training, just trying to, get ideas of how to train or just how to, who to look at and watch. I see people who, some guy ran a marathon in a suit.
Yeah.
Some guy did it in dress shoes. Some guy did it in sandals.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're breaking like sub 4, sub 3 marathons.
Yeah, so all my marathon times have been around 6 hours. Like I think my fastest one, I think I'd have to look at it again. I think it was 5 hours, 50 minutes. So my goal has always been like, if I could get under 5.5 hours, that'd be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah.
And the last one I did in Dallas, a guy ran the entire thing in a football uniform with a helmet. And he was like, I think in the 3 hour range.
That's insane.
And I'm just like,
yeah,
they're so
gnarly.
fast.
And that's it's so crazy. And I don't know, seeing that, I just wanted to be, I don't know, and that's why I started like looking at all that training. I started that page, Kevin Hates Running.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm not trying to be inspired. I'm doing that for accountability. I'm mainly just doing that for accountability.
You were the new David Goggins. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah, right. I'm the shittier version of David Goggins.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
If you post about it, you will do it.
Yeah, because people are now watching. And also, I don't really, when I was looking at all this stuff, and I spent a lot of time on social media with comedy and all this other stuff, just pushing brands and obviously trying to market myself. But when I was looking at this, everybody's, they got these cool filters and they're like, how badly do you want it? And like they're like, you got to get up and run at a 6-minute pace, 40 miles nonstop. And I'm like, sometimes people can't do that. And I'm like, I can't do that. And if I do that, it sucks. So I'm just going to tell you, it sucks, Yeah. And, I've already had people tell me, they're like, oh, yeah, you're going to run a marathon? Yeah, good luck. All right.
Oh, man.
I think about that. I think about that a lot.
We were talking about it. It's like I'm fueled so much by the negativity of things, way more. I wish I could be one of those people where when someone's like, "You can do it," I'm like, "I can do it." Like,
no, I can't.
I feel like it's so cheesy when I hear that, and I know, and I know it works for people, and if that works for you, that's great. But I prefer those like side eye looks, like when you tell people like, "Yeah, I want to run a marathon," and they're kind of looking at you like, "Oh, well, good luck with that."
I run everything I do. I run off spite. I mean, I run off spite. I think about, I pull out childhood trauma while I'm running, and I just go, I remember my dad told me one time, I was telling him I wanted to do something, and he was like, why? You always quit. You quit everything. And dude, I could tell you where I was. We were in a car. I could tell you what intersection we were at, the building we were next to, what I was wearing, what he was wearing. I remember that moment, and when things get real bad, I think, I was like, he's probably up in heaven right now, being like, "You gonna quit, huh, bitch?" I'm like,
another thing, you're quitting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I remember you talking about your dad last time, and he doesn't seem like the guy to just throw a bunch of bullshit out there anyway.
No,
so
he's gonna call
100% meant that.
He meant it from his soul, which is why it stuck with me for so long. Yeah. But also, I've been doing a lot of stuff with the veteran community and everything like that, which is great. And I had a master sergeant back when I was in the Marine Corps, and he was a cool guy. And I remember when we were PTing, I was a martial arts instructor. I was, I really tried to stay in shape. I was also a HIT instructor, high intensity tactical training, all that stuff. So I would train platoons and train people just to be in shape, But I remember when people would complain about getting up early in the morning and running and doing all these things, he would tell us, he's like, there's a guy out there who doesn't have his legs anymore. And all he wants to do is wake up in the morning and go for a run. He would kill and he would destroy everything in his life just to get the chance to get up on 2 feet again and go for a run. And you're sitting here bitching about it, saying, "Oh, I'm tired. Oh, my knees hurt." Like, you think his knees hurt? And we're all like, well, he doesn't have any knees, so actually no. But I mean, I get where you're going with it. You know what I mean? But I think about that. Even when we were talking, I was like, "Hey, man, I'm about to go run 6 miles. Send me something inspiring." You were like, you're like, "Actually, I'm not." And you send me a video. You're like, "Here, this kid just finished a triathlon and he has Down syndrome, and you think he's going to be excited about your 6 miles?" And I was like, "Fuck."
That dude. First of all, that dude has I wish I could remember his name right now, Chris something, but that guy has motivated me so much. Just because, again, it's like, I don't know. I don't know anybody close with Downs. And for people who don't know, he was the first Downs person to finish the Ironman triathlon, like the full distance.
Yes.
So it's I think it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and then you run the marathon. Yeah, and I remember like his marathon time was almost better than mine.
Yeah.
And it was like his first major attempt. It's like, but he did that after cycling, after swimming.
Exactly, yeah.
And they had a great little documentary, like a short YouTube documentary, where it shows his trainer who worked with him through the whole thing, because he's completing the Ironman with him.
Yeah.
And he's got this weird task of, with Downs, it's a little tougher to discern, like, is it time for him to quit, or is he going to be upset later because we let him quit?
Right.
Or like, physically, are we going to push somebody too far because there's that mental barrier and communication barrier? Sometimes.
Yeah, and that emotional, and you're trying to gauge somebody who's not,
And so knowing like that made me think of like the mental battle is probably even a little more unique with that guy.
Absolutely.
To finish the full thing. And it's just like, again, like you're talking, like, what's your fucking excuse? You got,
100%, yeah.
And I can tell you, I don't remember which one it was, but one of them I was getting, I hit my wall somewhere. I don't remember where it was. And, you get through, like, I'm sure you did this in the Marines several times, right? So you're used to hitting a wall at some point.
Yeah.
And, it's going to pass. You just got to power through, right? And And mine was always just like hate speech towards myself. It's just like, oh, yeah, tough guy with a tough life, with a tough world. Thinking this, you got it so bad. You're paying money to run.
Yeah.
You paid for this.
Yeah.
Right now, you got to go justify to someone who can't buy a sandwich that you paid to run and be unhappy.
Exactly.
And you want to get all sad and sappy about it. And for some reason, that gets me so hyped. And then I just start going again.
Yeah. There's
just the reality of like, it's a silly thing you're doing anyway.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
you like you said, you're paying to run. And
Yeah.
yeah. There's a quote that's really famous in the Marine Corps, and they use it on all like the recruiting posters.
Okay.
Because we do have like legit obstacle courses that we have to run and stuff, and they say life has obstacles, get over it. And it's like, all right, that's cheesy and everything, but I mean that's true. You're gonna reach these walls, and there's gonna be those times, but that's when you got to start really depending on yourself and all your training and everything you've been doing and learning. But also, you see things that are crazy. I remember when I was also in the schoolhouse, we had a sergeant. He came through. He was going to be, I think, like an ammo technician or something like that. He came in. He had just came back from Afghanistan. All right. He lost a leg in Afghanistan. He got blown up. He had done all his recovery. They were like, hey, man, you can retire. Like, congratulate. Like, you served. You made a huge sacrifice. You can retire. And he was like, I'm good. I want to retire with 20 years, not because I got my leg blown off. Right. And I mean, dude, like he was fresh out of rehab, like just got back to work, like walking and working on his own and everything.
Yeah.
We had a 6-mile run in the morning. He just got up front and took off. And I mean, he was cooking with one leg. You know what I mean? Like you would
now,
hear him just
hold on.
tinking.
I'm a little bit ignorant with the Marine culture. When you said you're at the schoolhouse, does this mean you're like new? You're new in the Marines?
Yeah, I'm pretty new. So it's like you have boot camp.
Okay.
And then you have your combat training, and then you get you go to your schoolhouse to learn whatever your job's going to be, and then you're in the fleet until you get out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's coming around some green people, basically showing them.
Exactly. Like we're looking at this guy. Obviously, there's a bunch of, it's just a bunch of low class new guys who are trying to learn, and you see a high ranking guy who's like, the dude doesn't have a leg, and he's about to go cook your shit. Like seriously, like, bro, he's about to burn you for 6 miles. Like this guy is the rabbit. Like he's setting the pace, and you're like, bro, like, what am I supposed to do about that, And, he was one of those guys. I think about all those guys. I even had a staff sergeant when I was lost both of his legs, still came back to the Marine Corps. And I remember we were doing piss tests one day, and he was the guy who, like, takes the pee, puts it in the bag, and seals it all up. And one of my good friends, I'm not going to say his name, total piece of shit. Love him to death. Total piece of shit while he was in the Marine Corps. He walked up some stairs, and he had to keep walking up and down stairs and everything.
Yeah.
And he sits down on the couch. He's like, I got to tell you, Staff Sergeant, my legs are killing me, man. And my Staff Sergeant just turns around. He's like, yeah? Are they? Yeah. And he's like, I have no fucking legs. He's like, why don't you shut up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, I'm on the 3rd floor. There's no elevator. You know what I mean? So... yeah, man. Like I think about those guys, and it burns a little hole in my head when I need to think about it. I can't quit because those guys are gonna think I'm a huge pussy if I do.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't know, man. I think it seems like there's like a culture shift right now with guys in a positive way, and maybe not just guys, just adults in a positive way, where people are realizing like that idea of you being like a 60-year-old. Non-active person is bullshit now.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, it took you years to get out of shape, but you got, a long time left. Like I'm middle-aged. It's like, with any luck, I should have 50 years left in my life. Am I really going to be like, oh, those old tropes, like when you're in your late 30s, when you're like, oh, I'm falling apart. And it's like, I don't want to be that. That just sounds lame.
Yeah.
And it kind of kicked off, with our son. He's 4 now. And it's like, I don't want to be that non-active person.
Yes.
With my kid,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then with social media, it's like recently I started doing the sprinting workouts as well because, one, I want to get faster.
Yeah.
And you got to sprint if you're going to get a little faster, right? And like, I don't care what your running community philosophy is. That's mine, right? Like everybody argues about how to get
sprints
faster.
and hills, dude.
Yeah, that's to me. It's like if you're not going fast ever, I don't know how you go faster.
Yeah,
right. Like,
if it doesn't hurt, that's my philosophy. If it doesn't hurt, then I can't expect that I'm getting any better.
Yeah, So it's like I'll do these random sprint workouts where it's like, okay, I'm going to run. I'll go to a track and it's like I'm going to do 3/4 of the track and then walk, a turn and then 3/4 of the track and we're just sprinting, and that kind of kicked off just because there was some post where it's like, the percentage of people after 30 who never do a full sprint ever again. Ever again.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah.
it hit me. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Even though I've been doing all this running, I'm not really like all out. What's the fastest for, 100 yards I can run?
Oh, yeah.
And then even though I felt like, okay, you're accomplishing these marathons, it's like, yeah, man, you're not shit. Like, you really can't sprint. You should be
Yes.
working on sprinting. Like, that's part of being active. And that's been kind of the whole shift now, where it's like I'm just going to I want to be that active 70, 80-year-old
Big time.
when I'm there, because it just feels so lame. It just feels so
Oh,
lame
yeah,
when you look at people who
agree.
have zero excuse anyway. You got a medical issue, whatever. But like you said, what was the Marine thing again? Life's got obstacles. Get over it.
Get over it. Yeah.
And it's like I think we dipped into this culture where we were trying to really be polite to people, and it turned into kind of babying people.
Babying the sedentary lifestyle, because
Yeah.
everyone, we kind of reached the peak of sedentary, like people, being on their phones, eating fast food, not moving around, not any of that stuff. And it was booming because we got introduced to the internet, we got introduced to iPhones, all this stuff. We were turning into Wall-E, you know what I mean? Just
100%.
trash everywhere, fat people on floating chairs.
Yeah.
And
It's the easiest time it has ever been in the history of the world to do nothing.
Exactly.
And you're going to survive.
Exactly, because there's still ways to make money. There's still ways to work, So, now, though, because of people, I'm not saying it's directly related to, but there was a cultural shift. You're very right. There was a cultural shift. Now there's people like David Goggins, there's Jocko, all these other people, the rise in MMA, the rise in running in general, people. And then, people start imitating that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you fat bitch, you stay hard. And then, so, but eventually, it's like, I see it in the military. We come in soft, and then all of a sudden people are like, fuck that. You're hardcore now, and you don't really have a choice. You do have a choice if you want to quit, but then we just make fun of you. We just bully you back into wanting to be tough. Which I'm not saying bullying's a good thing, but it's a
No, but there's a constructive
changing.
there's a constructive bullying amongst people that mean well.
Absolutely.
And then there's I'm trying to degrade you. And
constructive criticism.
It's like, God, dude, there's this great skit somebody made where it was like the difference between men and women, and it's just comedy, right? And these two dudes like bumping each other at the office, and it's like, oh, there's that piece of shit, huh? And he's like, oh God, you again, huh? And they just lay insults into each other, and then they walk away, and they're like, man, love that guy, and that kind of thing. And then like with women, it was the opposite. They're like, oh, I love your shirt, blah, blah, blah. And they walk away, and it was like, oh God, I hate her. But that first time where you're talking a little bit of shit, and it's like, look, your dad telling you you've never finished anything. Yeah, that's love, man.
But
that's real love.
And that's the thing. We told each other that too, and that's something also I learned in the military. Is, man, is like, if I'm talking at you or if I'm trying to tell you something, it's probably because I'm paying attention and I care. We would tell a lot of the new guys too. They're like, why am I getting like all this kind of like attention? People are always chirping at me, telling me I got to do this, do that, or change this, change that. I'm like, it's because we're paying attention. It's because we like you. We want you to. We want to mold you and everything. But then you get guys, and they're like, well, how come you don't leave me alone like so-and-so? And we're like, because he's a piece of shit. We know we can't change him. We know we can't make him better. He wants to be his own whatever, which is fine, but like that's not fit for this job. And
indifference is worse than criticism, right?
Exactly.
Because then you're just like, they're never gonna
if they're not going to catch on, then it's like, I'm not going to waste my time. And that leads to a whole road of not depending on people, trust, all this other stuff. But yeah, man, I'm just happy to be here. I'm really excited. I think the running has already changed. Running has already changed the way I'm living in the past 3 weeks. Like the hardcore training, it's changed my diet, my sleep schedule, my anxiety. I've been on medication for 4 years, dude. You know what I mean? And that's been really helping my control. Obviously, I'm still taking medication. It would be funny if I was like, and I haven't taken them in months. No, but dude, I'm so tired now that I'm just like, well, I can't really. If something happens, I'm like, we'll deal with that later. I need to sleep. I'm tired. I just ran.
Dude, I swear, it's like looking in a mirror. Like, so we had our son February of 2020, so right before the lockdown.
Oh man,
right?
That's
and so
intense,
and we had all these weird moments where like our first daycare drop off ever, which is like a big moment, for kids and stuff.
Yeah.
How old is your kid, by the way?
She's a year and 3 months.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
That's y'all's only one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if last time I talked to you if you had a kid or if y'all had just gotten married. I think y'all just got married.
Yeah, we had
right?
just gotten married, I believe.
Okay.
Because I was pretty new into comedy still at that point too. So, yeah.
Okay. And so like when we're dropping the kid off to daycare, it's like we can't even go inside. You have to wear a mask and you drop them off out front, and then like a stranger just takes your kid in.
Oh, dude, yeah, I can't.
And we're like looking. We have pictures like we're looking through with masks, like through the windows, like waving, and it's like brutal, right? So that, and then I work in a field where it was constant COVID. You're around it all day, like 12 hours a day.
Gosh.
And so I'm stressed about like I'm going to get this virus, give it to my kid. This was before like there was a talk of vaccines or anything, and we didn't really know. That first wave of COVID felt pretty rough compared to the other waves, right? That seemed where it was like wiping out Italy. Everybody over there was dying, right?
Yeah.
And we
it was
still
intense.
and we still had very little information, so you didn't know like, are we all about to?
Yeah, you were like, is this it? Like this is
yeah. And then since it's a virus, we were concerned about like latent effects, right? It's like you could catch this virus now as a kid. We're thinking about our newborn. And maybe it doesn't turn into anything until 10 years from now. Maybe then there's some crazy COVID virus side effect that all these people catch, right?
Yeah.
And so that was its own level of stress. And then just like being a new dad, our kid didn't sleep for a while. So, you're just tired, stressed out about everything.
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 They fall or they start crying. You're like, oh.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I don't know how you and your wife are, but it's like me and my wife, it's like, that kind of stress is like we were just fighting over anything. Like you dropped anything on the floor. It's like now that's a 15-minute argument about whatever.
I'm well, how long are we doing? I'm 30 minutes fresh off a fight, dude. Okay. What are we talking about, dude?
Yeah,
it happens.
And again, you don't fight like that unless you love that person.
Yeah, exactly.
I could just walk up this.
Yeah.
But and so it was just tons of that anxiety. It was the first time in my life I'd gone on what did I go on? I was on Lexapro, and then I had oh my God, it's the real popular one for anxiety. But it was like as needed, like it was a quicker, faster reacting pill. Like if you were freaking out,
like Xanax.
Yeah,
or something?
Xanax. That's what it was.
Yeah,
so it was
fire.
Lexapro and Xanax is what I was.
Damn,
had
dude.
access to.
Yeah, that's a very chill cocktail.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
But even with that, I found myself still getting anxious.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize it at the time, but before we had gotten married, we owned a condo in Dallas where when we were living there, a storm came through. Ripped the roof off while we were inside.
Oh my gosh.
Rained for hours, flooded the whole place, and we went through like a year of like the HOA for the condo. In my opinion, this is all alleged. I don't know. It felt like they were shady, like maybe they had stolen some money, and they didn't get the roof put back on for like I don't know. I think it was like 7 or 8 months.
Oh my gosh.
And we were thinking like, okay, the roof ripped off. They put a tarp over the roof. We kind of put a barrier over the areas that were flooded. It was the front half of the home is flooded, and then the second half, which was our master bedroom, bathroom, and the kitchen, we were like, we can make this work without having to move out. We'll figure this out. So we like separated it all with plastic. The roof had tarps, and we're thinking, what's it going to be? 2 months? We can handle that. We can do that. That's no big deal. And then it's like 2 months came and went. No talk of a roof coming on. Then like 3 months, 4 months, and we ended up having to get like an attorney to do all this stuff. And when we finally started threatening like more serious litigation, all of a sudden money was found and the roof got put on. It could have all been coincidence and they were all above board, but to us it felt sketchy, right? So
doesn't sound too good.
But what I didn't realize is apparently that's like the closest I've ever come to having something like PTSD related.
Oh yeah, that's a traumatic experience. I mean, dude, but when you lose so much, I mean, that's your life. Yeah, that's just literally being destroyed right in front of you. I can feel that.
But before that, if you had talked to me about your PTSD and it was not like military related, like war, like gruesome, horrible things, I would have thought like, what a bitch. Like, God, come on,
No, I feel that.
But then I noticed when we moved so we lived in an apartment while we were looking for a house, right? We sold the condo, we lived in an apartment, and while we were looking for a house, we were living in an apartment. Everything felt great because it's like giant concrete walls. I didn't feel any threats from storms or anything. I just never noticed it. And then once we got into the home and you have no real barriers around, like there's not like multiple exterior walls or anything like in apartments. all of a sudden I realized like, oh my God, storms like freak me out. Like I noticed like I had like 3 different weather apps because if there was a big storm coming, I'm checking all 3.
Tracking.
This one's better at this and this one's better at that. And like, I'm waking my wife up for like small storms. Like we got to hunker down in closets right now because I'm thinking the whole thing's going to blow down on us. And we're going to, and when we had the newborn, it turned into like, this thing's going to die in here. This big tree that's so beautiful in front of our home is going to fall over and kill our newborn baby.
Yeah.
So
I feel all that. I feel it, dude. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
That's where I was, and just like riddled with anxiety. So that was 20 through probably like 2021-ish. And at the end of 2021 is when we were running that marathon. And it was the same thing. It's like all of a sudden I'm just so beat down and tired. I'm burning off that energy that it's finally calming down. And I can't remember if I got off that anxiety medication the first marathon or the second one or what, but it also like I'm not taking it anymore. And that was definitely
really good.
That was definitely the wean down process though. It was like more physical activity.
Absolutely.
Combined with me also being like, look, the house was built in the 50s. It hasn't fallen down from a storm yet.
Yes.
It's probably going to be okay,
Yeah.
But then I was thinking like, yeah, but what if it's taken 50 years for those nails to loosen up just the right amount?
Yeah, no. Trust me, it won't, dude. If anything, you're going to have more problems with like newer construction.
Right. But no, I mean, I totally get it. It's like that your situation was very similar to mine where it's like, and I think so much of it was just, I don't know, maybe feeling like even before my sister had made those comments that kind of motivated me, it's like, you're looking at yourself knowing like, I've let myself go. Haven't done a physical thing in forever. Like, God, you're a piece of shit. Like, oh, if you move too fast, you're going to have a heart attack, aren't you? You know, that kind of stuff.
And that's a lot of big things that played into this. My father was older, he was 47 when I was born. He had been smoking a pack a day since Vietnam when he was 18. And it didn't stop. Even when he had esophageal cancer, dude was still smoking cigarettes. Wow. You know what I mean? And I remember growing up, and we would play for like 5-10 minutes because he couldn't be out for very long. He'd get tired, his heart hurts, all this crap. And, also, I'm in 5 days, I'll be 7 months sober. And that was sobriety was one of the biggest things that really helped me kind of click over to, one, realizing what was important, and also helping me kind of get back into like being serious about things, because I could still work out, I could still do whatever, but it was really easy for me to say no and come up with an excuse. Now I have no excuse. And now having a kid, I think about my dad, I'm like, I can't be like my dad. I was also like vaping and smoking cigarettes, all this stuff. It was just killing me. And then, now I'm here and I'm like, I have to focus. I have to really lock in and hunker down so I can actually do this for real. But yeah, I even want to talk to my therapist about it, is that I do feel like things are starting to change. And I was thinking about that too. I was like, maybe it wasn't what I thought everything was. There were other factors playing into why I had so much depression and anxiety, aside from what I went through and was dealing with. I was like, also, I was drinking a lot, I was smoking a lot of weed. I was sitting down doing absolute jack shit for days on it. And, maybe I'd take a few mushrooms. Who the fucking knows? I'm just like,
who could tell?
Yeah, who knows,
tell?
dude? All right. I'm doing a lot of things just kind of very loosely. And, I'm doing stand-up comedy every day. So I'm going out late at night. I'm not sleeping. I'm getting really tuned up with a lot of friends. We're doing stupid shit.
And that story of the stand-up comic living that life, I mean, that's as old as stand-up comedy,
right?
So it's like there's not people there being like, hey, dude, slow down.
Yeah, no. Everyone's egging each other on.
Yeah.
People are in the back like, yeah, we don't need to get into what we're doing out there in the back, but we're doing stuff, okay? Yeah. And it's not the best. It's fun, but it's not the best for our life. And I don't know, man. I've been thinking about that a lot, just the fact that things have changed so quickly. And it's stuff even, I see my therapist every week. We talk all the time. Shout out Tim. But I do want to tell him that things are starting to get better. And I just want to go back to being a beast, dude. I miss that guy. I mean, trust me, I did a lot of work to get rid of that guy because I didn't like him. Yeah. I didn't like who I was, especially when I was really angry and just wanting to just rip anything in half. Like, dude, I was bodybuilding, powerlifting in the Marine Corps, man, fucking whatever, dude. Like,
well, what a I mean, like we can talk about that like it's negative, but also like what an incredible environment to like get yourself as jacked as you could ever. Because like
dude.
that's just such. I mean, just massive testosterone, rage fueled. Like I'm gonna lift the fucking mountain now.
You're at work, you touch guns, and you're sitting around cussing and being all angry and shit. You're talking about the war.
We can argue about whether or not that's healthy, but it gets results.
Yes,
it gets results.
Exactly, dude. Like, hey, I got a gold medal out of powerlifting because of it, so I'll take it. Yeah,
nice.
But like, regardless, though, man, also that did come with a lot of side effects. As opposed to like the physical side was great, mental side it really breaks you down. But there were aspects of that guy that I missed. That's why I started fighting. I started fighting, and shout out to TBT Jim, shout out to Josh, shout out to Coach Sean. Those guys brought that guy back out of me. The good sides, right? The hardworking, the discipline, that side, not the quick to anger, not the quick to freak out and then make rash decisions, And when I had to leave, I felt like I lost that again. But this is just pulling them back out. Now I can fine tune them.
Well, and I think what you're experiencing too, it's like, life comes in all these different phases for everyone, and everybody's version is different. And so you can already think about big changes in your life. And it's like those people who don't have those big changes, that's the scarier part, where it's like when you look back in the last 15 to 20 years of your life has been pretty much the same.
Yeah.
That's real scary, right?
That's
even if the last 5 years has been pretty much the same, that just sounds horrible to me. And it's like, if we're going through mistakes and errors, that's fine. But I think what you're doing now is you're starting to see like the fighting angle and the aggression angle and all that stuff from a new lens of maturity of being like a married man, a father
with things to lose.
Yeah, you're
to
seeing
lose.
this stuff from a different angle. So now you're realizing like, oh, okay, I can use that just this way instead.
Yeah,
it's going to be good, man. You're going to be shocked just how much. I mean, I guess not. You did Marines. You've done tough things already, but the running has been. I mean, I don't like running. I really dislike it.
I hate running,
which is like all these people who run with something like, oh God, this annoying talk. But really, I mean, like if I'm not doing a podcast, first of all, I'll force myself to either I try not to listen to music because
that's psychotic.
Well, what I'll do is I force myself to go a certain amount of time with nothing because I feel like, we're in front of screens. I've always got music, podcast, comedy on.
Yeah.
So I'm always listening and interacting with something.
Yeah.
And that's like, maybe we're meant to just hear our breath and nature for a little bit every now and then.
Hell, bro.
And just shut down those outside senses. But then I'll kick on a podcast because that's something where I feel like I can zone out. I'm listening to something. Maybe I'm learning a little bit.
Yeah.
But lately, so this was the first week of me really kicking back into like full marathon training because I told you I was doing that bike ride in a couple weeks.
Which is also insane that you're doing that and training for a marathon.
I'll tell you this though, and no hate, the Hotter Than Hell 100-mile ride in Wichita Falls is awesome. And I think if you are an elite cyclist, that there's a lot of props to be given about how difficult that is.
Yeah.
However, I think if you are a casual cyclist, riding 100 miles is so much easier than running a marathon.
I don't know, but
that's just
know,
my take.
Yeah, that's
my personal take.
I don't know.
Now, I've only done it one time. This will only be the second time I've done it. But, on a bike, it's like I can coast if my legs get a little tired.
Right.
There's like a little, I'm sitting down. Whereas when you run, it's like if you can't coast. If you stop, you're just stopped.
Yeah, true. True. Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's something about I think holding the handlebars and sitting on the seat. It's like you're resting a little.
Yeah,
even though you're working out.
You're Tron. You're Tron.
Yeah.
You're locked in. You have a light beam.
Yeah.
You're
now, like if you're doing the Tour de France, it's like, hey, you're a beast. That's different.
Yeah.
If you're like a real athlete, but I think just going out there and doing it. But the marathon training, like I just kicked it off this week, where I'm like, okay, we're on the plan. It's going to overlap for about 2 weeks, and then it's all running.
Yeah.
And all I've started listening to this week when I work out is there is an episode on Joe Rogan with Courtney DeWalter. Have you heard of her?
No, I haven't.
I'll send it to you. It's incredible.
Okay.
And then, of course, Goggins, like he's got 3 episodes on there.
Yeah.
And
he's
out
of his mind.
I like going back to the first episode when Joe kind of first met him.
Just trying to get a feel for him.
Yeah,
and
you can feel Joe even getting a little like, this guy,
Yeah.
man. He's out there. You know?
I was telling somebody, and that's the thing, man. Like, I remember when you told me, you were like, "Hey, man, now that you're a runner, like, get ready to get ready for this to become all you talk about to people and your entire personality." And I was like, "Here's the deal, bro." I was like, 1, I was in the Marine Corps. 2, I kickboxed. Everything I do becomes my personality immediately, you know? And I just go, "Oh, you ever heard about this?" Like, yeah, I remember I was telling my friend about Goggins the other day. Just, just one, because he's in the military too. He's an insane runner. And, somebody was like, "What's the deal with him?" And I was like, well, he got out of the military, then became a bug exterminator. And then one day he got there, he was out of shape. He was killing cockroaches. And I think he like ripped the wall off something and a bunch of cockroaches came out. And then he just thought to himself, is this really what I'm doing with my life? And then he dropped all of his gear and then just ran like 15 miles home. I'm like, this guy's out of his fucking mind.
Have you read any of his books yet or
no,
listened to him or anything?
I can't read. No, I can't.
Well, just do an audiobook. Listen to his audiobook.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
And especially now that you're going to be running, you got time.
Yeah, true. Hold on.
But when you hear his upbringing too, and you learn, like, I don't know, it's all inspirational. Because on the surface, it's easy to go like, okay, another one of these motivational guys. We get it.
Yeah.
But truthfully, like, the guy's a psycho in an
out of his
incredible way, and he doesn't, like, most other people do the talking for him. So
oh yeah,
this is legit. This is
people will tell you he's out of his mind.
Yeah.
The same thing. It's like you don't win second place. You lose. You don't win silver, you lose gold. And I'm like, you're crazy. I want to go back to this. You said you are trying to run without headphones. That's that's been perplexed. Like, you were like, we need to hear our breath. If I run with no headphones, it just sounds like a fat guy trying to have sex. Like a really fat guy trying to have sex.
I think there's something
so
important in
bad.
that.
Yeah.
I think there's something.
It's primal. It's very primal to like tap back in.
I don't want to tell anybody how to do anything, especially not you. Like, follow your own journey of how running works for you. I'm
going to try it.
But like when Pazvar and I were doing it, we all had kind of different approaches and we all had different training plans and we all finished. And but I was thinking I need to learn how to like disassociate.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not so like if I listen to music, I think, okay, this song is 2.5 minutes or this song's 3 minutes and now it's over and I'm going to listen to this many songs in a mile and blah 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 and it's too much. It's too much going on. And so I would find things that were beyond repetitive to go run. So like if it was storming, like we're going to be training long enough that storms are going to come through and it's going to wreck your training plan and you're going to have to find alternatives, right?
Yeah.
So I was going to a parking garage near where I live and I was just running circles. And so it might end up being like 78 circles or something.
Oh my gosh.
78 laps in this empty parking lot and it's storming, but over, you're covered. And it was all just like get used to monotony, boring, zone out, and before you know it, 9 miles are done in this parking garage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's where the no music came in. Like right now, I'm still listening to podcasts, but as we get further along to the longer miles, it'll shut completely back off.
See, and that's like I'm thinking. I definitely get what you're saying about trying to disassociate because I now that you mention it, I am very present. At least when I run. For a lot of other things, like when I'm trying to be social or anything, or like in a public setting, I'm always like inside of my own head, like deep, deep, deep down to where it's like sometimes people have to be like, hey. And I'm like, oh, my bad. Sorry, I was thinking about X, Y, Z. But I am very present when I'm running. I think it's because I'm so trying to be like cautious and like... aware of what's going on, like not really like aware of my surroundings, but more of like aware of my timing and like, am I gonna die like right now because I feel like I'm gonna die? Also, I've been running at peak hours. I don't run. I don't run at night. For people who don't know,
it is August in Texas right now.
It's about 100 degrees easily.
Brutal.
I run at peak hours, and there's no reason. The only reason is because I work late at night, and then I spend the nights with my kids and. Yeah, man. So running at peak hours is 102 outside, and I'm just starting back up training, and I'm just getting slaughtered out there. So I'm trying to be like, I'm trying to distract myself, but now I kind of want to like, maybe I should just take I'm doing like I said this week I'm doing 3, 4, 3, 5. So 3 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles, 5. So I might just do it on the 5 mile and see how far I can get before I'm like, if I tap out or tap in.
Well, just put the earbud in. turn it on and off whenever you want.
Yeah,
You know?
that's not a bad idea.
Do it whatever way you want to. Right?
Yeah.
Don't commit to anything because the only thing that matters is just getting the miles done.
Yes.
Just putting the miles on your legs so your legs are used to doing it. It doesn't matter. But that's part of why I stopped listening to music. Like I would, be looking at my watch or my phone constantly, watching time, and doing that runner's math that you start getting into. And and I would start thinking like, okay, I might have slowed down here, but if I pick up there, I'll be able to cheat the system.
You'll kind of kill off some average pace time, dude. Yeah.
And you won't.
Constantly. No. No.
And so what I realized is for me, it was just more about like, okay, get the miles done. When you feel like you're suffering too much and you're being counterproductive, and when you're in a good zone. And it's like with all of life going on, it's like I did a bike ride yesterday. So when I woke up to run 3 miles this morning, though that was a slower 3 miles than what I've done lately. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, I don't care. I'm still getting the miles in.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to obsess over that because we're still 3 months out.
3 months out.
We're talking about the heat right now.
Yeah.
There's always a good chance that when the marathon happens in December, it's below freezing.
Yeah.
So that'll be the swing of your training environment.
Yeah, and I keep trying to tell myself, I'm like, eventually this is going to stop. Eventually, like the heat's going to stop, and then it's just going to be like how well, trained is your body and your system. But then we introduce another factor, which is that wind chill, and then the possibility of freezing.
You know what though? The cool. I don't know what your body's like, but man,
it's not good. I'll tell you that.
But what I mean is like the cold temperature.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna love every bit of that.
Oh, dude, I don't know, man. I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time on the East Coast where it was cold and cold rain and snow and stuff like that.
But when you're running, you put a couple layers on.
Yeah.
When it's like, 40 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like it's perfect.
That's actually crazy to hear that, dude. No headphones and you're like 40 degrees. You're out of your mind, dude.
You're gonna love it.
These marathons.
Whenever we were getting those snowstorms and stuff, I would make it a point. I was like, again, I'm getting all jacked up on Goggins and Courtney Dauwalter and Rogan and all these psychos,
Yeah.
But it was like, maybe I'm not going to go do 10 miles in the snow because that's just I'm not a winter person. I grew up in Texas. I'm not going to die of hypothermia over a 6-hour marathon.
Yeah, telling the ER, you're like, get away from
Goggins,
me. Get away from
Goggins.
Yeah, they got to tell your wife your last words. We're stay hard.
Yeah, but I would go out there and be like, I'm going to get 3 miles in. I can do 3 miles.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you started realizing like it really isn't that cold. Like as long as you kind of put a nice, I'd put on like a more of like a windbreaker jacket that would just like hold the heat in,
and then just keep moving. You can't stop moving.
Yeah,
it's like one of the main.
And again,
things.
it's like it's like if you can't feel your fingers and your toes, it's brutal. It's like okay, yeah, let's shut it down for a minute.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. The cold weather was so much easier. This hot weather is the hardest.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's the hardest.
And I see people that they're like, they go on this whole thing. They're like, dude, you're going to increase your VO2 max levels. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, so you really can't convince me. I just know that it sucks. Yeah. But, it goes back to that whole thing. I mean, it's especially like learning how to train. You're like, if it hurts, obviously there's a difference between if it hurts and if it hurts. You know what I mean? But if it hurts, normally it means it's working. But when it like hurts, you're like, okay, maybe I should.
Yeah.
Stop.
What is it like? Does it hurt or are you injured?
Exactly.
Yeah. Whatever that is.
Because there's a difference. And I don't know. I did want to go back to what you were saying earlier. This is as we're really reaching. I'm kind of reaching far back, but you were saying that there were just things that you wanted to accomplish. You were saying that I haven't done this in such a long time, and that made me think that's a big reason I'm trying to do all of this stuff is because especially now that I have a kid and I have things to lose. I have a wife, I have a kid, I have friends, family, a career. My mortality has been on my mind so much more. I mean, I remember when I was like 7 years old that was like when I first found out that I was going to die.
Yeah.
It was really stupid because I was like sitting back there and I was like learning all about death and I was like, wait, so when you're dead, you stop breathing. And I was like, let me hold my breath. Let me see what this is like. And I held my breath, and then I had like a straight up panic attack. I was like, oh my God, that's so bad. That's so bad. And I was like, I don't want that to happen to me. And
not breathing is the worst.
Exactly. I don't, and I talk to my therapist about it a lot too, man. I deal with my mortality, the thought of dying and the thought of leaving this world behind, but it's just part of it, But the thing is like, also with the fact that it's never really going to happen the way you think. No one ever goes, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to die of old age, and then they walk in front of a bus. You know what I mean? But, I want to have things. That's why I'm trying to challenge myself. I think that's why a piece of it too. That's why you're challenging yourself. You fucking ran 6 marathons. That's insane. So like, if something were to happen to me or happen to you right now, you would have a rap sheet of like, I've done some shit, you know. I've done 6 marathons. That's insane, you know. For me to just be, that's why I want to do this marathon, to at least be able to say I've done it, to say that I've been in a fight, like a real sanctioned fight. Did it go well? That's none of your business. All right? Just know I've done it, okay? And you know, the military, all these things. I think it's that. But the main thing of it is like I'm thinking so much more about my mortality, and I'm trying to cram in as much stuff that I can do, but also like, you know, not just like participate. Like I want to do this shit for real.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny, like when you say, oh, you know, you did 6. All I think about is it's like, you know, I've met so many people who have completed 1, and then they're like, I told myself I would do 1, and then I didn't have to worry about it. And I was thinking like, man, that almost seems like anybody can do one of these. So now I'm frustrated that I've done 6, but I never really get my time down. And so that, to me, that's what this year has been about, is like, you need to actually shape up and focus. And over the next several years, see like, what is your maximum potential? Like, let's not just finish anymore. Like, what is it to, like, what is your personal best if you give effort?
Yeah.
And you know, because
like nonstop.
Well, because all the other ones, what I would do is, gosh, I mean, like, I think the first one and the second one, I probably took the most serious, right? And then the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, I would always have excuses of either why the training could start later, or why, you know, like, oh, it's okay if I eat this pizza today. I'll do this for the next week.
You're like, technically, I'm carb loading.
Yeah,
you guys wouldn't understand. It's a run.
And I was like, and I was still experimenting because, like, I did one of them. I was like, I found a 1-month training plan.
Jesus Christ, dude, what the hell?
And I was like, let's just.
You know that's not a good idea.
But I was able to finish it with the 1-month training plan.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a baseline because I had done some already.
Okay. I was gonna say,
no.
like,
The first one I took very seriously. I think we did at least 2 months, probably 3 months of legitimate training.
Yeah.
Right. I can't remember exactly what it was. And then the second one was only, you know, the only reason that was a short amount of training is because it was between. It was like December, you know, the end of December or the middle of December is when they do the Dallas one usually, to the end of February. So roughly 2 months. But there's training plans out there that are like, if you're doing marathons close to one another, you can do these, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I felt like this is reasonable. This is reasonable, you know? And then, so now I was like, you know, what if you're actually going to focus on your diet, train properly? You know, last year I told myself that doing that 100-mile bike ride would be good, like, off-season training for running. So I finished that 100-mile ride. I gave myself like a week or so to kind of rest, and then I went for a run, and I was like, I felt like this didn't do anything for running.
No.
I feel like I'm starting over again.
It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, because for, you know, what are we talking, 9 months, I didn't really run at all. After those marathons were done, I was like, I'm good. I did it. You know, I'll do another training plan when it comes up again.
Yeah.
And so I realized, like, you haven't kept yourself at a baseline. You're, like, letting it go and then coming back. So it's always like you're running a first one again in that sense.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible way to do it. And so this is the first year where, like, we're going to try to keep a baseline of athleticism, stretching, and some sort of cardio, and we're going to keep running. So I would always have little casual runs throughout the year, keep it up. But I thought we're going to go extra hard this time and see how good we are at Dallas, and then see if we can amp it up again in Fort Worth. And like, what is a time you can get? Or is this truly like, this is your athleticism now, and that's fine if you're going to run 6-hour marathons the rest of your life. That this is this is where you're at, and that's okay. You know, because I was thinking about it. I'm 39, and I was like, if I can do what I want to do, which is run 2 a year, make it a tradition. Hopefully, as my son gets older, he thinks athletics, you know, are important, and maybe he wants to run with me. That'd be cool.
Would be cool. That'd be a
really
fun
cool family thing if he picked one every now and then. But that means, let's say I, you know, can do this for potentially another 30 years. So you're talking about potentially, you know, 60 marathons.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
But you'll see there's people out there that are in their 70s doing this. No problem.
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that a lot.
And they look like beasts. Like this one woman passed me one time, elderly woman, and I say elderly just because, you know, she had like, you know, gray hair. It's like I don't really know her age.
Yeah.
But she appeared to be, I would say, you know, 60 plus. And she's just, I think I'm like cooking. and she just cranks past me.
Yeah.
And then I look down, and she's got the Iron Man logo tattooed on her calf.
That's
you know,
hard.
and
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
hardcore. Yeah.
Damn, but you're thinking it's like...
She throws you a cookie. She's like, come on, Chunky.
Yeah.
And you're like, Jesus.
And then another one, there was this older Asian woman who was getting her... This was her daughter's first marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And and I say Asian because she's like a tiny petite.
No, go ahead. What did she sound like? Tell me the accent. No,
What I
I'm
mean
kidding.
is like she didn't look like this beast runner,
Yeah.
athletic. She looked like a person who's a stereotypical kind of older Asian woman person. I know.
Go ahead, describe.
I know. It's just we all know what I'm saying. Listen,
Go ahead. Yeah. No, do the accent. I want to make sure I know what you're talking about.
Anyhow, she's like backpedaling, running, motivating her
insane.
daughter
Yeah.
to do the first one, and they're both passing me.
Oh my God.
And she's got like the most positive, like, this is why we're out here. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Good job, everybody. And it like part of me is thinking like she's so awesome. The part of me is thinking like, fuck you.
Yeah, you're like, I want to trip you. I hope you fall.
But again, seeing someone older who's not a standard like athletic, like I'm a beast, I run marathons, blah, 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 who's just like, she was having fun doing
Yeah,
this.
that's crazy.
I was like, well, I want to be, and you realize like, oh, they've probably been doing this for 20 years. And like mentally, this is nothing anymore. They know exactly what they're supposed to do. They keep a baseline year round, and then they just have fun. You know?
I know you were talking a lot about your time, and believe me, I'm still very fresh into training, but I've been thinking about this too. I don't know. I got pretty hooked on this. If you're worried about time, why not just, instead of going for time, why not just do more miles? Like, what if we ran an ultra? Like, what if we just had a team and then we just did an ultra?
So wait, you're saying instead of getting faster at a marathon, just do longer runs?
Yeah. So like, if you're worried about, you're like, man, I can't make time, and it's like, well, okay, I didn't make time, but I did what? You tripled, quadrupled the amount of miles that you ran?
Maybe. I mean,
I've thought about doing it. Like I said, the max I've ran so far in the past 3 weeks is about maybe 6.5 miles for one sitting, but a piece of me is like, yeah, I can run an ultra. I'll do an ultra. I'll do it.
I think what it is I know that I'm overweight, and I know that I'm not training to the level, like to the highest level I could in the past. So I think to myself, what are you physically capable of in terms of speed?
Yeah.
And I want to know that, and that's really what it is. Like, could I eventually do a sub 3 hour?
Yeah.
Or is it like, no, that's not you. It's just not going to be you. And that's kind of where
Sub
I've
3
landed.
is crazy, dude. A 250, even like a 259, that's gnarly. You're gonna be churning, but it's not. Here's the thing: it's not impossible.
I mean,
It's not impossible.
yeah, and so that's kind of where I'm at. And I think that marathon for me, it's like a lot of people were like, well, why don't you do like a 10K and then a half marathon and build up? And I was like,
I can literally do that I can just go on the street and run a 10K.
and it's like, look, I'm glad if that's what you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But I don't like doing any of that build up. To me, it was like,
No.
let's go all out. If
Yeah.
I'm going to do a marathon, let me just do a marathon.
Yeah, that's when
You know?
people. I see it all the time. People are like, "Hey, we're gonna go do our 5K, or like we're gonna go to a race and do like a 10K and all that other stuff." And I'm why at this point now that I'm trying to get to the marathon, I don't want to like sign up and do all this race prep to then go. If I want to run 6.2 miles, I will get on the road and go run
Right.
6.2 miles. Congrats, I did a 10K.
Yeah.
I know in 2 months, I think September 12th, I think I'm running my half marathon in preparation for this.
Exactly.
And it's not a grand thing. It's just I will be on the road for quite some time running 13.3?
13.1.
13.1 miles, yeah. And then I'll be like, okay, well, that's my half. Now I got to get up. Well, here's the thing, too. I'll proposition you. You have sponsored me for this marathon. I am willing to have Dead Good production company sponsor you for an ultra marathon if you want to do it with me. So
Are you talking
we'll
about
put
this,
that on the
this
table.
year, you mean?
No, God, no, dude.
Okay.
I'm still struggling with 6 miles. So how about we let me finish the marathon
Well, I
first?
didn't know. You're like, I'm going all out.
Yeah, no,
We're
no,
doing
no.
a 150-mile run.
No, but I'm willing to take it till the end of next year or the next year. What? That's 2025 or the beginning of 2026.
Okay.
To the end of 2025 or the beginning of 2026. If you want to do an ultra, I will gladly take care of it, and we will team up and we will do it together.
Look, I'm not saying no. I'm saying we'll see. But my goal now is fastest marathon speed possible.
Yes.
But I mean, ultras sound fun. Like when I see the ultra people running, that looks fun because I don't know how the Dallas one will go, but I can't remember. I know the Fort Worth one for sure does an ultra distance. I think the Dallas one does an ultra distance.
Yes, I think there is. I saw it on the website. I think there's an ultra.
And I mean, it's like if I, and that's kind of what I think about, like, for the speed. I know that if I told you, if you run 35 miles tomorrow, I'll give you $2 million.
Yeah,
you're gonna run. Almost everyone will figure that out.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that's where I'm at with the speed. I have to tell myself, if I was given that ultimatum, could I in 3 months get down to a time? And so that's where my mentally I'm at, is like, what is the fastest you think you can get to? And then after that, I don't know. Maybe that'll seem like a worthless challenge, and the ultras will seem more interesting. Because that person I've been listening to a lot, Courtney DeWalter. And again, I feel like a psycho because it's the same interview. I'm just replaying the same interview.
Well, dude, David Goggins said he played. There was a video.
Rocky.
Rocky. He said he played
music.
like 17 seconds of this speech
for hours.
For like 14 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's insanity.
Well, the interview is from, I think, 2017. It was the first time she ran the Moab 240.
Yeah.
So they call it 240. They round up. I think it's a 238-mile run.
Jesus.
All right? So let that sink in.
Yeah.
And she beat the next person, I believe it was by 10 hours. She came in first. She was 10 hours ahead of the next person. You can sleep on these things. It takes days. It took her, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it took her 58 hours to finish that. Oh
my gosh.
Right?
Dude,
so you have a support team. You're allowed to take a break, lay down, sleep, whatever you want to do. So over that span, she slept for 21 minutes. It was 2 separate naps. She did a 20-minute nap, and then she claims to have slept for 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then finished. But the point being is, she could have slept for 8 hours and still beat the other person by 2 hours, but she just kept going.
Yeah.
Right? And then you hear her in this interview, she's not braggadocious. She's not the David Goggins beast. She's not up there telling you, like, listen, motherfucker. She's not that.
Real.
And the funniest part about the interview, it's like Joe can almost not even comprehend it, because he's Mr. like, I've got my protein shake, my supplements. I get this much sleep. We do an injection of elk, and he's got a very scientific approach, and like, if it's a new thing, I want to try it out. We'll do some blah blah. And he's like, so talk about your supplements. What are you doing? And she's like, I do a women's multivitamin.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And he's like, what's your diet like? What do you? And she's like, we do like quesadillas and beer on the weekends. And,
oh, nice.
And I mean, she's just the most she doesn't stretch. She doesn't do yoga. And it's not like, I'm here to prove that you can run without stretching.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just one of those things.
It's just her. She's like, well, I should probably incorporate a little more, I guess,
That's crazy.
And so learning from her interview that so much of it is just the mental. She keeps going back to, I just go. I told myself I wanted to finish this. I told myself I wanted to do this distance. And she was relatively no one at that time when this interview happened, after she won. Now she's got this huge running career, big sponsorships and stuff. But I think she still had a full-time job at that point, or maybe had just recently left it. But I'll just listen to that interview on repeat, of just this mental fortitude of, again, an unsuspecting person being, she ran 240 miles and beat the next closest elite athlete by 10 hours.
By 10 hours. Yeah. And
so you start thinking about if the human body is capable of that, only because she tried, right?
Yeah.
Then what is my own personal body capable of?
Exactly. Yeah. You want to test yourself. You want to test that grit. Yeah. And that's the thing, man. I just want to be a dog again, man. Like, I just miss being a fucking animal. I miss just living and breathing intensity. And now to come back to it, obviously it's a little bit different, but I mean, out of everything I've done, running for time and length has been one of the hardest. I would rather get punched in the face again every day than have to walk outside and try to run 6 to 7 miles.
Yeah.
Like, it's not easy. It's not a fun, like...
I've never been a fighter. I've never done any formal fight training of any kind. But I think one of the advantages you could have in fighting is that you can be smarter.
Yes.
You can learn about your opponent, and you can know, okay, this person's got me outmatched in these ways, but if I can do this, I got a shot.
Yeah.
Right? You can come up with a plan to work around these problems.
Yes.
Whereas, running, it's like left foot, right foot.
And see, and
there is no cheat. You just have to
yeah,
go.
That's a great point you bring up too, but it also comes down to this is like, yes, you can be smart and technical and you can't have that in running, but also same thing in running that you have in fighting. Sometimes there are those guys who just don't quit. They don't go down. They don't give a fuck. And I think about this quote a lot of the times when people like ask me, why are you fighting? Why are you trying to run? Like you have a family, or what are you trying to accomplish? And I'm like, here's the deal. I think about I can't remember who it was. It was the guy in I think it was in Casino when he was talking to the guy at the bar, and he was like, I will break a bottle over your fucking skull. And I will put you on the ground. I'll stomp you out, and then I'll get arrested. I'll go to jail. I'll serve my time, and when I get out, I'm gonna do it again. And then he's like, and he goes, you know why?
Is that Pesci? That sounds like a Pesci
I think so.
line.
And he goes, you know why? Because I'm fucking stupid. And I'm like, yes, dude. I'm like, that's me. I was like, why am I doing? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will do it. I'll go hard, and then if I get hurt or whatever, I'm gonna do it again just because I don't know. It's stupid. Yes, You're right, 100%. But I can't say no. And now I just want to test myself again. I want to be bad again, dude.
Yeah.
I miss it. Which sounds like a midlife crisis, but God, dude.
But if you're gonna have a midlife crisis, what a great one to have, which is just getting athletic and healthy again.
Besides, getting like a Corvette and like doing coke.
That's... Yeah. I mean, but really. So it's been 3 weeks of running now in the summer. And it's like, look, man, I don't care what anybody says. It's like, it's annoying sometimes to hear people talk about like, running. There's all the stereotypes of like the marathoner will let you know, like we're just as bad as vegans and all that kind of stuff.
100%.
But the truth is like when you're done, running whatever mileage you're doing in the summer and you're just drenched in sweat, tired, and like I did a thing today. No matter what else happens the rest of the day, I checked this off the list. I accomplished it. We're good to go. And that is exciting.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I feel like, I mean, not only are we telling everybody that we're marathons, but too, like we're from Texas. You know the whole thing. Yeah. How do you know if someone's from Texas? Don't worry, they'll tell you about it. Like, dude. So it's all those things on top of it. But yeah, man, it's something that you accomplished, and it's bigger than a lot of other things that you could be doing, and especially just with the fact. I mean, it's an accomplishment for me just because I take my sobriety very serious now. If it wasn't for that, I'm not comparing myself to anybody else. I'm comparing myself to myself. That's the easiest way for me to, because when I start comparing myself to other people, then it gets really bad. And I start thinking about all these things, and it's unnecessary. But I think about who I was 7 months ago, and I was like, that guy wouldn't be doing this shit.
No.
He'd probably be complaining, or he'd probably be going out somewhere, staying out late, probably getting high, probably getting drunk, and then trying to do something so. Yeah, I think about that a lot, and and it's I'm like I'm just better than you. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I see myself, and I'm like, fuck you, dude, yeah.
Well, I do think when I was dealing with my form of anxiety at that time, it's like I do look back at that person, and you think like, God, man, you were. This is me, just talking about me. It's like. You really were that was probably the wimpiest version of myself.
Yes.
Not just physically, mentally. That was the most like looking for excuses and you're like, you're putting on the phony smile.
Yep.
But you're really kind of being a little bitch all day, and it would be with, like how quickly I could get frustrated at work with something, how quickly I could get frustrated just driving a car, getting frustrated with my wife, and you realize like it's just all wimpiness and the way you're projecting that insecurity on everything, and the running definitely shifted that because it just reminded you. It's like you said during training for that first one, it's like you hit that point where you complete a half marathon, and it's like I didn't have the Marine boot camp where I ran 16 miles, So for me, it's like, oh my God, I just did a half marathon, but there's no one there to cheer you on.
Yeah,
it wasn't an event.
There's no big medal to put on you.
No, and you just felt like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Straight Kobe moment. Job's not finished. Why aren't you happy, Kobe? Job's not finished.
And then before the marathon even happened, there was a run where, and you'll get to, in your training this go around, where you knock out like 20 miles. You're just like, fuck, man. I did 20 miles. Like, I live here in Dallas, and are you familiar with White Rock Lake over here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You lived in Dallas for a little while, right? And but it's like I never thought I would reach a point in my like in terms of running where White Rock would not be big enough. That I'd have to where I'd have to go. I don't want to go around this thing more than twice. You know, I think it's 9 miles. So you're thinking I went around twice and I have to do 2 more miles somewhere. You know, what am I doing? And so I had to come up with it. And I remember posting that on social media, and like it came back up in Facebook memories or something. And you're saying like, man, I still remember that feeling where you're feeling so accomplished. That's like that lake isn't even big enough for me anymore.
Yeah, I need more. You need more.
And I remember before my wife and I were married, there was a day we just went to the lake just to go for like a walk, just a walk. And I remember we just randomly were like, what if we just walked around this whole thing? We weren't running, we were just walking. And that walk around the lake seemed like forever. It felt like it took forever.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were like, whoo, we're so exhausted. And truthfully at the time, like to walk, you know, 9 miles for no reason was an athletic thing for us, you know. And so to think of the difference of the guy who, it's like, whoo, that was a tough one lap that we walked the whole way to like, man, I wish the lake was just a mile bigger so I only had to do 2 laps running and I could just go home. And yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And now I do feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm not going to impress anybody, but you could, I know mentally you could say, do you want to run this marathon tomorrow? You know, like $1 million if you run this tomorrow. Yeah. And I know mentally it's like, I'll figure it out. Let's go.
Yeah. And at this point, too, the way I'm looking at it, if somebody really was to be like, hey, tomorrow I will give you $1 million to run it, I'll honestly, like, I'm at a point in my life where I say, you can keep that fucking money. I'm going to run this just so I could throw it in your face. Like, literally, I would take the $1 million, run it, and then throw it out as I was finishing. I'd be like, yeah, I don't even need this shit right now. And here's the deal, man. Like, I also think that, like, you know, being, like, running a lot more has really helped me tap in with a lot of stuff because it's quiet for a long time when you're out there running. It's very quiet, you know, even with music or no music, it's quiet. You're by yourself, you know, running is a very selfish sport, you know, it's very, I mean, yeah, you could be in run clubs, all this other crap, but there are going to be days where you're by yourself most of the time. And, I've gotten, you know, I've tapped into some emotions and some thoughts I haven't felt in a long time, you know, but positive stuff, you know, nothing too negative or anything, you know, if it is negative, it's got a positive spin on it now. But I mean, shit, I even know too, like I've thought about the finish. I've imagined it. I've envisioned it. You can't tell me it's not going to happen. It will happen. I will finish. And I just know I'm going to cry. So when that happens, just leave me the fuck alone.
Cry, man. Cry it out. Cry it out.
Yeah. It's a big achievement, you know?
To me, you're in the part, for me, that was the absolute most fun because it's all brand new.
Yeah.
It's all exciting. You're pushing limits, you know, and it hits those waves, right? You know, it's real exciting. Then it gets frustrating. Then it's taking too much of your time away on like a, you know, there's a family thing or something. You know, we're going to be getting through the holidays when all this is going.
Yeah.
That type of stuff. And then, you know, and then the marathon itself, you'll go through the same waves of whatever. But yeah, man, it was cool. I still remember, you know, the Dallas one, actually the Dallas and the Fort Worth, both are put on so well that the people that put it on, they really care about putting on a good event.
Yeah.
They're two totally different vibes, but I definitely still remember the guy from that first one giving you the medal, and like, you know, they can tell you're a first timer. You know, they can tell.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, I'm coming in like they're closing the course. Like the first one was 6.5 hours. And literally, like, on the last mile, they were pulling up the course and like, hey, just move over to the sidewalk so you don't get hit by a car. And it's like, all right, no problem.
Yeah.
But he's like, you know, hey, you did it. You know, you finished it as he's putting it over. You're like, I did do it.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that meme of the guy biting the medal and blasting off the champagne.
Yeah, for third
it's like
place.
for third place. And it turns out it's like the ultra winner, the actual winners of the marathon. It's like the guy who finished last, and you're pop. But yeah, like it's dope, dude. That's finishing a marathon. I've come to learn. I looked up the statistics. It was like, I think it's grown a little bit, but like maybe 11% or less than maybe even 1% are actually completing a marathon. Like people will sign up, but dude, there's a bunch of like did not finish, did not participate. It's like a lot of people can sign up, but some people don't even show up, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people where they, it sounded like a great idea a couple months ago, and then they find all those reasons not to do it.
Yeah. Reality sets in. Yeah.
But I mean, the first one, you'll see, man. Like, you were talking about people that you think about, you know, like the guys in the military with you who were like the guy who's missing a leg, but he's setting the pace. And I still think about this guy. I wish I could somehow figure out who it is and just bump into him and see if my recollection is actually anywhere near what it was really like.
Yeah.
But it was mile 20 in the Dallas Marathon, first marathon I ran, and this guy's wearing a shirt and it says for Vic, like VIC, which I'm guessing Vic is a friend, somebody, I don't know. In my mind, it's like his buddy who passed away from cancer or something. Like I'm thinking it's that type of shirt. I don't know if that's true or not. But there was a big hill, and I'm walking up that hill, I'm gassed, and he's shuffling. Like his shuffle is basically a walk. His feet are dragging, but he's just cooking, And he's probably, he looked at least late 50s. But again, sorry, dude, if you're listening, but he looked like he needed a cardiac workup. He looked like he was not a healthy individual who should be running marathons. And he's just shuffling. And it didn't dawn on me till well after the race, but he's going up that hill, he's passing me, and in my mind, I'm thinking, this guy not going to beat me in this marathon. I'm going to get to the top of this hill. I'm going to turn it on.
Yeah.
All right. You got second wind, and we're going to get past this guy, and I'm never going to see him again. Right. Yeah. And I get up to the top of the hill, and he's in the distance, and I start moving, but he's still just pulling away.
Yeah.
And I just never saw him again. And I realized it's like he's just that older guy, whether it was his buddy Vic or whoever, that he was motivated for, or whether he had just gone through like 2 divorces and he got laid off from a career at some point. He's just jaded and he's channeling all of it into this. But he just knows like my feet will not stop moving or I will stop moving, And but just seeing these people who should not be in your own perception, should not be better than you, that are better than you.
Oh, yeah.
And it just recalibrating what you think. That was the moment after that, after I processed that marathon, I realized like that is the difference between my mental toughness and his mental toughness. He's a tougher human being. He is mentally stronger than I am currently. And I don't even know if I'm that strong yet mentally, it's just, then you just start seeing that same person at different parts of the marathon, and you're just thinking, damn, they've got that, that grit or whatever you want to call it. They're just stronger than I am. And they're all in different shapes and forms than what you would have imagined.
Right.
It's never the ripped, jacked person. Yeah. Right. And it's just like, okay, I'm having to recalibrate my entire perception of what, like a beast is. Because
it's not really a physical look to it. You know, there's you can't really see what's going on in someone's brain, but I'll tell you, dude, I've met some of the most hardcore people I've ever met. Also, some like special forces guys that I've ran into and plain clothes and everything. You're looking at him and you're like, "Jeez, dude, you're jacked up, dude." But
hopefully, I don't have to take you, man.
Yeah, for real. And these guys are different, and it's not because of their physical appearance. It's because what's going on in their brain. They're wired different. They have different types of motivation. I don't even know. They just have like a die last mentality. They're like, I will die before I quit. It's just one of those things. You simply can't make me quit. I don't know. I just want to get back to that. I hope that could be something.
Well, I'm very psyched that you're wanting to do it, especially with the I'm a fan of sponsor, because exactly what you just said is what I think about with some of the people I know in our circles, right? Where when you see some of the people that you know, some of the people that you care about who are also not very athletic, they're at the spot we're talking about that we were at, and or that you're talking about you're at now. And me knowing like, man, they would love it if they did something, whatever. And I tell them like, I don't care if you want to do 5K, 10K, half marathon. Like I'll sponsor you if I can afford it, as a runner for this. Yeah, it's going to get me a little bit of exposure or whatever, but it's more of the fun of you. I want to start doing this every year, sponsoring people, and then I think after this one, my wife and I are going to try to do do the tents, like the support tents on the side of the thing. Oh,
that's awesome! Yeah, that's
great.
And
even if you don't want to run, it's like, hey, just come hang out and come watch these fucking people. Come watch these people finish and be shocked by who you thought like marathoners were, or half marathoners, even whatever. Because it's like, there's the athletes, that front group, man, they go and you're just like, holy crap.
Yeah, you see those guys
holy crap,
coming
you
in
guys,
with they just look fast.
You guys
know?
got it down.
Yeah, yeah, for real. And then we all kind of roll up squeaking on a rusty wheel, and we're
Dude,
like, all right, let's do it.
The later groups when they're rolling through, to me, that's when you're seeing these people really. They don't know that they can do it yet, so they're pushing the hardest they've ever pushed in their life.
Yeah.
And that is, you want to see your people going, man, you could definitely not. I know you're capable of knocking this out.
Yeah.
You just haven't told yourself you can do it yet. And so in a dream world, it's like, oh man, we end up getting like 15, 20 runners a year in the future.
That's awesome.
Sporting jerseys and
a straight up team.
And people
yeah.
just going, what is it? It's a comedy music podcast run group? It's like,
I want to have
I
one,
don't
yeah.
know, man.
We should do it to where if we have it, we should put on like on my jersey or the shirt or whatever this episode. So and like a QR code. So if they're running there, like, who are you? I'll be like, scan it.
We
yeah.
can do that because
Yeah.
the jerseys I'm going to make, like they're like custom order. It's nothing like crazy fancy, but it's you can put
Yeah,
whatever you want on there.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what like is it like you're not about to give me like 100% cotton like crazy
no,
thing?
No,
like,
it's
are you?
it's a real like a dry wicking.
Oh, dude, that's
shirt.
sick.
It's
yeah,
a good shirt.
That's sick.
And I mean, you're going to sweat so much it's not going to wick
yeah,
it.
no,
but
yeah. Like you just give me like a hoodie. You're like, yeah, they were out of shirts. Sorry, you got to run in this.
Well, I had hoped Pazvar and Sonny G would have continued with the Juicy Jogger Nation.
I dig that.
I loved it, and
Yeah.
they just they have their own reasons. They've told me before, but I forget. But it just wasn't in the cards. I think really what it is they finished and they do not care about running anymore.
Yeah.
And they did not want to continue
Can
doing
they
it.
would they be up to passing over Juicy Joggers or what?
I don't know. I loved the logo. I loved the concept.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If I ever felt like doing anything with it, I would have to approach them and just be like, can I just buy it or give you a percentage? I don't know.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm just going to see how I'm a fan of goes with it. But
I think that would be sick.
it was fun doing that. But when I ran with them, they bought me a jersey to run in or whatever, and it was like that thicker, heavier shirt.
Yeah.
And like I was still very thankful. It's like it's a shirt. I'm part of the
gift,
team.
yeah.
But when you're getting through, you're like,
Yeah.
lighter material would have been nice.
You're like, oh man, that I can feel it in my nipples. That's cool. Yeah.
And it was like that. It was like a thicker polyester, I think. So it was a athletic shirt, like if we were doing like a kickball team.
Yeah.
It would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But when you're like,
When you're running and you're rubbing and you're doing all this stuff, you're like, yeah, no, I get you.
when you're 5.5 hours in,
Oh yeah,
and the end is still far away,
dude. Yeah, I'm
that
really
shirt felt heavy.
I'm really interested to see how all this plays out, and basically, yeah. I mean, I'm not going for time. I'm just going for this first one. Obviously, I want to feel it out, but there's also a piece of me that's like, I do kind of want to go hard. I want to take it as serious as I can take it.
Just do what feels right.
Yeah.
You know your limits. And the first one really, I think, is just, man, enjoy it. Like, it's a whole experience because the fun part, the really fun part, honestly, is the first almost a half marathon, because we branch away, right? Like the half marathoners will go to finish the half marathon, and then we continue a different direction. And the whole first part, it's just people clapping, cheering, ringing bells. They've got signs, and you're like high-fiving golden retrievers, and like
That's sick.
it's a fun
That's
experience. And then we branch off, and now it's it's a little quieter. It's a little more, a little less people motivating you.
Yeah.
And it's both of it is fun in different ways, and there's still like the diehard support people through the last half of the marathon who know like that's tough. There's going to be DJs and people handing out drinks and food and things, and it's just a fun and weird experience.
Yeah.
And my favorite, you won't be able to do it unfortunately, but my favorite is around mile 20 for some reason. That's kind of like one of the stereotypical tropes is mile 20 is the halfway point, is what people say, and I'd never heard that when I was training the first time. My experience of kind of like what you're going through was with Tyler Elliott. I was just messaging him a little bit.
Yeah.
At that point when I was doing my first one, I think he had completed 8 marathons, he said.
Damn, I didn't know he was down like that.
He doesn't brag about it.
Yeah.
Again,
that's
people you don't think are beasts.
Yeah.
And get
He's
out
also
there.
a beast at comedy. Shout out Tyler.
And he has good times.
Yeah.
He is not.
No shit.
He is not, I just finished them. He can run. He can
that's
run.
crazy. That's crazy.
And he had that same confidence. He's like, I could go run one this week. We could do it.
That's crazy.
And at the time, when he first told me that, I don't know that I really believed him.
Yeah.
Now I believe him. He could definitely. Now I know he's got it in his mind. Like he knows the difficult part. But at mile 20, when you're just feeling horrible, I'm looking at this big hill again. The first marathon, I didn't do any of this. The second, and from here on out, at mile 20, they always seem to be offering beers and shots. And I always, it won't be for you, but to me, I slam a beer. And let's go.
And then go.
Yeah. And so you'll find your version of whatever that is for
What if
you.
I just went around and started knocking beers out of people's hands? That'll really make me run faster as trying to get away from those people. I'm like, sobriety rocks, bam, 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 and just take off. Yeah.
I think if you're trying to be the most annoying person, it's the sober marathon runner.
Yeah, dude, the sober marathon from Texas. Who was also in the military is like, hey guys, I'm a douchebag. I don't know if anyone knows that. Yeah.
Do you know what that alcohol does to your mindset?
Yeah. Well, brother, pull out my coin. 11 months. Because I was thinking about it. I'll be
when they offer you a medal at the end. And we're assuming you're going to finish. When they offer, just pull out your sobriety coin. And just be like, already got one.
All good, brother. Thank you. They're like, so you don't want this? I'll be like, actually, let me get
please.
that.
I would love that.
Let me get that. Yeah.
It's the only participation trophy I've ever been proud of.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's crazy. I can't wait. I mean, dude. Yeah, I just know. Like I said, I've seen it in my head, and I'm telling myself, like, if I DNF, it's because I died. Like, there's no way. Like, I don't care if I cramp or whatever. I will cross that line, even if they've packed up and gone home. I'm passing the finish line.
Listen, if they start packing up, they will keep the finish line open.
Yeah.
That's what I learned on they want to be there and give you that chance. Again, I think I finished at 6.5 hours on the first one, and Michael Pasvar and Sonny came in shortly behind me. Excuse me, they got lost. They added on like an extra 1.5 miles because they got lost in
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god.
And so, but they were still there, and then they were finishing people after that. The people that put it on, it's sponsored by BMW at the Dallas one, so it's kind of they do like a big thing with it,
Nice.
But it's fun, man. It was a good time. The difference, it was hilarious. The Dallas one feels the differences between Dallas and Fort Worth were almost exactly what you think. The Dallas one, little extra glitz and glamour because we got to keep it a little, Dallas-y, snobby in a way.
Yeah.
It was all in good fun. It was all a good time. But, they're shooting off confetti cannons. There's fog, and we're blasting techno. And they're like, are you ready?
Yeah.
And it was great. And so that was a good first experience. The Fort Worth one was definitely more hometown feel. Like, Journey's playing at a reasonable volume. We're walking up the start line. They're like, thank you guys for coming out. Are y'all excited?
People are coming out of little
Here we
shops like,
go.
oh, I wonder what they're doing. How about that? Yeah.
Both of them, though, the support system was incredible.
Yeah.
Everywhere you went, man, just tables of, water, Gatorade, ready to go.
That's sick, man.
Yeah, it was
I'm
real
very
cool.
excited. I'm very excited. And, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And like I say, man, it all started with just a dream and then being, for some reason, being like, I had a dream. I can probably pull up the post. I can find it and I'll send it to you. I just remember waking up one day and be like, well, had a dream I was running a marathon. Might as well do it. And I told myself I will do it by the end of the year. And then I kind of broke contact, but I was still kind of not really training, but just running. And then when I saw that post, my brain, like parts of my brain started firing like that I hadn't felt in so long. And I was like, I need to do this. I need to do it.
Awesome.
Immediately, once you were like, all right, let's do it. You were like, that was a funny thing too. You hit me up. You're like, okay, like for real. You're like, I was like, no, I'm not trolling you. You're like, okay, seriously, do you actually want to do this? And I was like, yeah.
It's like, listen, I don't want to get excited.
Yeah.
That you were going to do this because the rest of the comments are all a bunch of shit talk.
Yes, yeah. Which was funny to be like, all right, guys, come on, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, no. And then, everything aligned for that. I don't know how much you're into, believing that stars can align and that there's the universe has a plan or God has a plan. This, for me, this has to happen. This needed to happen, and it will happen. So I'm very committed to this. And like I said, I'm grateful for the opportunity. So, yeah.
Well, it seems like you're at an interesting point in your life where there's lots of shifts, lots of changes.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's a good time to shake it up in a positive way.
Big time.
And then just kind of see what happens,
Big time.
You know, because everybody goes through those phases of life where whether it's good reasons, bad reasons, you make these changes, right? And then you look back 5-6 years from now and you're like, wow, I didn't even recognize that person.
Exactly.
And look what it's become,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. I do think it's weird how my running joke always with my wife and like close friends is like we're in a simulation. You know,
running joke. There you go.
running
You
joke,
like
yeah.
that? All right. Comedian. Here we go.
But these things that just you feel like, how can this coincidence happen that perfectly?
Yeah,
You
it
know?
doesn't make sense.
You know, and so I don't get horribly religious, but I love astronomy. I love studying anything about the universe, and I don't ever say I'm not one of those. I don't believe religion does not exist. You know, because we don't know, man. There's a lot of, to me, having 100% belief that everything is cold and scientific and exactly the way we believe it to be is the same as having blind faith in whatever your choice of religion is, right? Like you're still believing something you choose to believe, not having a full picture.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But you do look at the universe and it's just so big and vast, and there's these weird things, you know, that come up that you can't explain. Those weird feelings, and you're just like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Like, why?
You know?
How can a monkey peel a banana and it's their main source of food? It's like the one fruit that they can just, you know, and you're like, how is that possible? You know, and that's how I feel about this marathon.
Okay.
You're my banana, I'm a monkey. You know what I
love
mean?
it, man. Peel me.
That's
no, wait.
yeah. All right.
Wait.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Family
That's not-
show. All right.
That's not what I meant. Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think? The having a kid was one of the biggest parts of this kind of shift, of all these different shifts in your life?
I'll be honest, man. I think it's one of them. But if I'm really being honest, you know, I mean, she plays a huge role in my life. I mean, she's my entire world. But you know, the big thing is my sobriety. I don't really talk about it too much, but
Sure.
I got jammed up in some shit. You know, I got in some trouble, and it got pretty serious. I spent a little time in a pretty crappy concrete box for, you know. And when that happened, it changed my perspective, because I knew for a fact I'm not supposed to be there, especially with everything that I've done in my life, everything that I have going for me. You know, I realized that I'm not supposed to be there. And I'll be honest, something happened when I was in there. I had to call my wife, whatever, from a jail cell, and I heard my kid talking in the background, and something about being in a cell hours away from home and listening to my daughter through a box.
Yeah.
And knowing I'm not going to be coming home. That, I mean, it ruined me. And I knew I had to stay on the path I was, which was comedy was going great. I was starting to go on the road. I was becoming somebody in the scene. And also, I need to clean it up. I want to be sober. I want to be present. I want to be around. I don't want to be putting myself in situations where I end up having to deal with this crap. You know, obviously I'm still dealing with some of the consequences. Nonetheless, that
it's
stuff
going to be
will
a
get-
while.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, but you know, everything's going really well in that aspect too. That things are really good in that aspect. You know, big shout out to my lawyer. But you know, when all that happened, you know, she is the catalyst. She is the catalyst. But my sobriety has changed everything. It has been the main reason I've been able to actually come back in touch with who I actually am and what I'm capable of. But everything I do now, all the shows that I go into, I mean, I just got back off the road. Everything, all this running, anything, social media, I do it for her. All I think about is my daughter, and that's all I care about. And I want her to one day too, when she can have her own thoughts and think for herself, I want her to look at me and at least say, like, damn, he's done a lot, or he's a respectable person. And I just don't want to be a shitty dad. I'm sure you have those thoughts too, where you're like, man, I really hope I'm not a shitty dad. That's all
Well, I mean, he's 4 now, so we're a little ahead of you in terms of some of these moments. But yeah, it's just the realization of how much of an impact you have on the development.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, he's off this week from daycare. They just have like an off week where they don't allow you to go. Don't get me started on daycare and like the rip off of daycare. Anyhow, it's a good daycare. We're happy. It's just there's little things I don't enjoy. So he's off this week because they need like time to reset things or something.
Okay.
And so I took off from work. We're gonna spend the whole week together. I was telling you yesterday, it's like we took that day trip to Georgetown. Yeah. Because they have the caves down there that you can just go take a tour of and all that. And then maybe 2 weeks ago, he watched some show that, they had a cave in it and they were talking about bats and caves and stuff. And so he's like, I want to go to a cave. And you start realizing like, shit, we have the ability. We're in a spot. It's like, instead of going out to eat, this weekend, we could just take a road trip down and go show him a fucking cave.
Yeah.
And maybe this will be maybe he's just like, caves are cool and he never thinks about it again.
Yeah.
Maybe this is one of those moments where it sparks the thing that he loves and starts a career and a hobby or whatever.
He starts living in caves.
Yeah. And so that starts living in caves.
He's a cave person now.
But just, you start realizing, man, okay, I can either try my best to help you find whatever it is that's going to make you a happy person.
Yes.
What I mean by successful is I just want you to live a good life that you were very happy with and not struggle in any way outside of like an athletic accomplishment.
Yes, exactly.
Not real struggle.
Yeah.
So that's what's shifted is thinking, okay, all right, we've got to do things that kind of create those opportunities. You're never going to force anything, right? But if that cave moment was the thing that, okay, it sparked this, great. If not, then it was just a fun memory when we went to a cave. And, after that, they have a little public in Georgetown. It was some kind of, they have Barton Springs in Austin.
Yeah.
Similar to that in Georgetown. I can't remember the name of it. It's like the Blue something. But just a natural river that's dammed up and flowing so you could go swimming in it. And, of course, he loves it.
Cool.
He's never seen anything like that. And so we had this great little Monday memory that we normally wouldn't have if his daycare was closed. So just trying to shift from, okay, we can have these negative things that piss me off, like the daycare's off for a week, or I can go, I got a full week with him. I took off work. How many fun things are we going to do?
Exactly.
How many memories are we going to create and mold him into a good person? Because there's some outliers, but overall, it's like the serial killers, the rapists, the shooters, all these horrible people. They're always mostly, and again, this is my internet research and Netflix research, but it appears like crappy childhood, crappy, parental figures,
Neglect.
or lack of, is a
Neglect.
common thread with people who make really horrible decisions. And
Absolutely.
And it's one thing to make a horrible decision, such as your recent situation, and to come back going, okay, we got to reel this in, versus making a horrible decision and we're going to keep going south.
Yeah, just
we're
keep
gonna
going
keep
south.
going down.
And that's been the big thing. I mean, like, dude, now that I'm doing a lot of stuff, in that aspect, I mean, also when you're dealing with those people, I mean, dude, I'm going to court meetings, I spent some time, I went to jail. That sucks,
Yeah.
Like, and you see people who are, they know each other. There's inmates in there who know each other. I saw a guy come in, and when he walked in, everyone was like, "Oh, what's up, dog?" And he was like, "Yeah, you already know I'm back." And then they asked him, I remember, dude, this stuck with me. They go, what happened? He goes, I got into a fight, blah, 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 yada, yada. I punched a cop. And they were like, oh, but like, what, you think you're going to make bail? And he was like, hell no, I ain't going to make bail, but I will be out in 6 months, so I'm good. And I was like, whew, what? I was just so taken back by it that you could just accept 6 months being locked down to just do nothing progressive. And I'm like, but this guy's got to have a family. He's got to have friends out there, a job, anything. And it's just, yeah, no, I'm good, man. And he's like, I've done this so many times, it's whatever. And, also I go to court. I'm in drug programs. I'm in Narcotics Anonymous, all this stuff. There are people out there, man. And don't get me wrong, addiction's crazy. Addiction is a crazy thing to deal with. But some people, they just don't learn and they don't care. And that's when it starts to get bad, when they start spiraling. They can't catch a grip and just realize that this is not the way to do it, which is why I'm very grateful for a lot of the help that I've had, my family, and I'm glad that some people have really smacked some sense into me that the way I was doing, like, I had a lot of good things going for me. I had a lot of good stuff going for me, and I jeopardized it by making a really stupid decision. And then, now though, now that I'm clean, I'm sober, I'm thinking straight, I've been able to turn up tenfold. Now I'm going way harder. Now I'm actually doing big road gigs. I'm making real money from comedy, and now I'm starting to actually get back into shape, do challenging things rather than like, I wonder how high I can get and drive to Walmart without getting caught. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not proud of it either, but I always say, it's the people who get caught with DUIs and things like that, especially in a state like Texas. Most of us should have one.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just the unlucky people that got caught until you got mature enough to realize, oh my God, I'm playing with fire here.
Oh, yeah, dude.
You know, but I think a lot more people who would ever want to admit it have been in that scenario where it's like, man, if they had just seen you that night,
oh yeah,
that was your DUI,
cooked.
that was your thing, and then it's also strange, man. The comeback is the big part, right? Because it's weird where these things take you. Like I had Shayan Jahani on here.
Love him. Big shout out.
He had multiple issues with DUIs, and the way he got into comedy and the way he met his wife was because after he'd gotten his I don't want to speak out of school. I think it was a second one. I think he got a second DUI.
Sophomore year.
Yeah. I can't remember if he had 3, so I'd have to re-listen to that episode again.
Yeah.
But he was having to take the bus around because of all that, and he either took the wrong bus or the bus went a different way than he thought or something, and it dropped him off at the old DCH.
Oh, yeah.
When it was Dallas Comedy House.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I guess, killing time, saw an open mic. That's how he got into comedy. And then he met his wife through Dallas Comedy House and doing comedy.
That's crazy.
And all from the DUIs. And it's like, man, wow, what a great comeback from a terrible situation.
Yeah, it's all that matters is how you bounce back.
Exactly.
And I mean, yeah, dude, like I said, everything was cool. I was coming back from a show, but I was being stupid, and I had a lot to lose, and end up in cuffs with cops pulling stuff out of your car and being like, "What's this?" And you're like, man," and they're like, "That's yeah," and they're like, "Hey, man, I hate to break it to you, but that's a felony," and you're like,
"Oh,
fuck."
Yeah.
But I learned my lesson, and now I'm going hard, and there's no way that you could get me to ever, and I think it's because I'm clean now. There's no way you could get me to jeopardize that time with my family again. I will never put that on the line ever again.
Have you made it to the point yet? Because this is all pretty fresh, it sounds like. Have you made it to the point yet where you can start to see the humor in this and weave it into your act?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I talk about this on stage. There are things that I talk about. I've talked about,
because I was fortunate enough to do that thing with Lawrence, and that's the majority of that act.
Oh yeah,
is talking about his horrible faults that he had.
Yes,
that got him to his rock bottom.
Yes, yeah,
and that's your game that you're in, man. Is spinning that gold from shit.
I'm learning, dude. Yeah, I open with stuff about my literally from the top of my set. I'm talking about my sobriety. And
are you
stuff,
3 years in now?
To comedy, yeah.
3 years,
well,
right?
almost 3 years. It's like 2.5 years.
You're coming up on it, yeah.
The last time we talked, I was just opening and hosting. I mean, I was doing max like 5 to 8 minute sets. That was like a normal thing for me. Now I just started featuring, which is great. Yeah.
What was that room you did that you posted about this weekend?
Oh man,
with the folding chairs and the flags.
So that was sick, dude. Okay, so
what was that? Because that looked fucking incredible.
It was gnarly
for a very non-traditional venue.
Yes, dude. So there's this thing called the American Legion, and it's in Kansas. It's in Junction City. Big shout out, Junktown. You already know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy Drew Hernandez, another shout out, a combat veteran is what he calls himself on the internet. He's got a huge social media presence, and he started doing stand up. And we do a lot of stuff for the veterans. That's a big thing. And I also, being a veteran myself, I didn't know there was a lane of stand up comedy to do stuff with other veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And linking up with Drew has been the best thing ever because he's a veteran. He pulls in a lot of veterans. So he went on tour and he was like, "Hey man, you should come with me." And I was like, "Absolutely." And I used to open for him.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's hitting me up and being like, "Dude, I want you to feature for me," which is a blessing. Well, one, it's more time, and two, it just shows me that like I am getting stronger as a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a badass headliner, dude. I mean, he is badass at what he does, and he's really in touch with these guys. So he gets called up and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna do the Kansas City Comedy Club on Sunday." And that's in Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "The day before that, though, we're going to be in Junction City in Kansas, and we're going to do the American Legion 45. I believe that's what it's called." Now, what that is, think about like a VFW, but a little bit better. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if you've ever been to a VFW. It's normally like deserted. Nobody's in there.
Yeah.
We walk into this American Legion. I mean, people are smoking cigarettes inside. There's a bar in there, and I'm like, hell yeah, dude. It's like there's young veterans, and I think it's right next to Fort Riley, which is a big Army base. There's a lot of history. And, I was like, normally when we get into those positions, because it's not a club, you're like, you never know what you're going to get into. You might get like a small show. I mean, I've seen a lot of times people do shows at like VFWs, and it's like 2 chairs and the white foldable tables, so it's like two, and it
Real
really,
spread
it's like,
out.
Yeah, real spread out. It's like 12 people, and then they opened up the doors for us, 363 seats, and I was like,
God,
yeah,
that's
damn.
That's what I was waiting to hear, because the little video you showed where it's panning across, you're thinking
It's insane.
You're thinking, is that just that effect from the cell phone where it looks this vast?
No,
or
it was
so 300
363 people, and
I mean, that's
5 minutes
bigger.
before,
That's bigger than some of the clubs here,
dude. 5 minutes before the show, we sold out. He sold out.
Mm-hmm.
He sold out. Not one empty seat. And the first time I ever did a theater was with Drew. I did the Cowtown at Isis Theater with Drew. I got to open for him.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the best sets I've ever had. And now I got to feature for him in front of a huge crowd. And dude, when you hear that laugh, it's like thunder. Like it hits, dude, and it scratches this itch in the back of my brain where I go like, I know exactly why I'm here. Like this is exactly what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
So, and then so I mean, dude, shout out to Drew for doing that. But yeah, we go out there. It's veterans. We're also with this guy named Will C. He's a headliner. He's been doing comedy for 30 years.
Oh,
He's
wow.
opened up for Lisa Lampanelli. He's been on tour with Larry the Cable Guy, Cat Williams, all these people. He's great. And he runs Veterans of Comedy, which is it's a comedy company that has veteran comedians, and they go around to military installations and they just perform for the troops. And I mean, dude, it was crazy. It was like one of those nights where I genuinely felt like a celebrity. Because, like, don't get me wrong, I know who I am. I'm very self-aware of my position and what I'm doing. I'm still very much working the local scene. I still do regular shows where it's like 10 to 15 people sometimes. Or, you get the occasional 80 people at a show and you're like, we fucking sold out. I can't believe it. It's great. But doing those shows with them and like being in that community, and especially being with like Drew and Will, I mean, dude, people like, you feel like a celebrity. Like it feels like
it's all part of the process too. Like you're getting a taste of what your goal. This isn't the next tier you can reach on a consistent basis.
Yes.
So it's important in your growing process to kind of touch into that, come back, touch into that, come back, and then eventually it starts shifting into that most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
My favorite picture that you posted that for the oddest reason was there was one where it looks like you're shooting it from the stage, but you see that clearly it is a non-traditional venue because there's a ceiling fan right in front of the stage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
love that because you can also tell the way it's set up. This isn't the first time they've done this. This was done correctly,
right?
And you can tell it's going to be a lit little room, despite
Dude.
these things that should. What do you think it was? Other than like the thing, it's true. I agree. I hate that it's the go-to that everybody says from now on, because I don't think it's the end-all, be-all of what makes a good room. I know the ceiling was lower, and low ceilings are great.
Low ceilings,
Awesome,
Yeah.
great. But there also was a ceiling fan in your face,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, but what do you think it was about that room, about that evening, that made that show work so well for y'all?
So I think it's a combination of two things. One, it's Drew. Drew is the headline. He was the main draw. Drew Hernandez, dude. He has been on social media doing comedy for veterans for so long that a lot of these guys who are in the military, who have been in the military, they know him. They watched him when they were down and out. They watched him when they were on deployment, getting shot at, being in the shit. They were like, "You want to see a funny video?" And they'll pull his face up. So, but also, I actually got to talk to someone right after it, which was really cool. The veterans, the military people, they're so grateful. And this is coming from my words too, but also his words. He came up to me and he said, "We're so thankful for this because we don't get this a lot." They were like, we can get like some cool stuff. Maybe they'll give us like some movie tickets or whatever. But like most of the time, we're stuck on base. We're getting yelled at. We're dealing with the bullshit day to day. And it's very rare that we can come out here to a big event and then actually sit down and enjoy ourselves. Because a lot of time we have, in the military, I don't know if you've heard it, it's called mandatory fun. That's what we have. We have mandatory fun where it's, hey, we're all going to go meet at a park when it's 100 degrees out and we're going to play Frisbee and cook hot dogs. And you're like, why would I want to do that? You're like, I want to stay in my barracks room and just get absolutely wasted and play Xbox.
So you guys are out there like the scene from Top Gun, shirtless, throwing a Frisbee.
No, not even, dude. Like we're doing it like we're all just mad. We're all just mad. We're smoking cigarettes and we're like,
angry Frisbee throw.
Yeah, and then like your first sergeant comes in, your commanders are like, woohoo, how we doing? And you're just like, I hate you. I hate you so much.
Like the terrible corporate conference when they turn on bum 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 bum.
Yes,
bum,
dude.
bum, bum.
Literally, they're like, you guys want to do the Macarena or what? I feel crazy right now. And you're like, dude, no. But see, when it comes to doing, and that's why I love stand-up, because it's not this corporate shelled thing. It's people who can be free. They can say stuff. They can just get a little crazy. And they say things that provoke real happiness and laughter. And to hear that, they're like, man, we don't really get this too often. And that's the thing, too. That American Legion, when Drew was like, hey, I want to do 350 tickets. That's what it started as.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I want to do 350. They were like, 350? He was like, trust me, I want 350 seats in there.
Yeah.
They were like, we'll see how this turns out. And Drew, like, I was looking at Drew because I know Drew can sell. And I was like, I don't think they know. And he was like, I don't think they know either. He was like, but we'll see what's up.
Yeah.
And dude, they got so overwhelmed. There were so many people. The line was wrapped around the corner.
Yeah.
They were like fumbling to grab more seats. They were pulling chairs out of the bar and like putting it up there. And dude, I had a blast. And everyone over there had so much fun. Like, it was cool. Just got to be around my people, you know, and it's those men and women, man, they deserve a good laugh, you know, every once in a while. But yeah, that also, so that and just, I mean, dude, low ceilings, you know.
No, there's more to it. There's got to be more.
Nah, dude, low ceilings, yeah.
Well, how was
sick.
it when you guys went on stage? How was it lit?
So we
You
had
have a couple
there's-
spotlights
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff
they were
there?
pro. It was very pro
They
setup.
have a setup there. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell from the pics. I
We
have
had
to
a
look at them closer.
straight up like DJ. They had a whole sound booth.
Like, you guys brought that, or they had that?
No, they provided
Oh,
it.
okay. So
were like,
they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they were like, let's give this this. So they got that spotlights, dude, real nice spotlights. Killed all the lights in the back so you couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Like, and then stage light, big stage. They had the stool, like you could tell it wasn't like a normal stool. You're
Sure.
like, where the hell did you get this stool? But it was still a stool. So
Yeah.
you're like, we're trying to make it work, you know?
Yeah.
And man, dude.
It's wild how
Crazy.
those tiny details make such a big difference.
Oh yeah, it changes everything.
I was looking at that, wondering a lot about the seating style of clubs, because those seats were just rows of people,
No
elbow to
tables.
elbow, no tables, next to each other.
Yeah.
And were they serving beer throughout?
Oh yeah.
So would you just get up and go get your beer?
Yeah.
Is that how you were going to a bar?
So the thing was, there was a bar across the hallway, but then they had a bar inside. So like you could literally just stand up, walk over, point at a beer, and like no talking, like
Yeah, yeah.
literally no talking. And then they'd point at a beer and they'd give it to you, and you just make the exchange right there. And
Now, do you think that's because we're dealing with some military people? There's a little bit more discipline. Like a normal comedy crowd's probably not going to think of being quiet when I order my
dude,
beer.
they
right?
were
Okay.
so like they're very used to like sit down, shut up, and
Yeah.
watch. And I mean, dude, that's why they're the great. But also, too, you got to remind. There's some belligerent.
I was gonna say, until they
people-
get drunk.
Yeah, until they get drunk, and then they're like, "I want to be a part of the show," and you're like, "Please don't." But yeah, man, like they're great, and I mean, what a great crowd to be out there with, and everything about that show was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it couldn't have gone any better. And I told Drew, I was like, dude, and I mean, Drew walked up there. First of all, Will opened, killed it. I got to feature. I had a bunch of fun with those guys. As soon as Drew went on, it was game, dude. It was game over. Like I knew. Everyone was just going crazy.
Yeah.
And after that, like I said, I felt important that night. It felt like I got that taste of what those big guys get. People coming up, hey, can I get a picture with you? And you're like, yeah. You're like, I don't know if you know this, but on Monday I was talking about my dick at an open mic, and now you're over here telling me you want to take a picture with me. Do people are asking me to sign stuff, and I'm like, this is crazy. And I'm trying. I've talked to a lot of my friends too. I'm trying not to get hooked on that. I'm
Right.
trying to take it as like, okay, I'm grateful for that experience. That was a blessing, but that's not what it's always going to be. Because that's the one thing about comedy, and you know this. You've seen a lot of comedy. It's never steady. Everything, you could be hot one day, dog shit the next. And then you could be going all over the country, and then you're back to being some local guy at an open mic. Like, that's just how it goes. So I'm trying to just enjoy it for what it was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should, right? That's a win. You put a lot of effort over the last couple of years to be able to take a win if the opportunity is there.
Absolutely.
Take the win.
Yeah.
And then, have you got to be at a mic since you've done that?
No, not yet. I literally just got off the road last night.
So sometime this week or next week, you'll get humbled again.
Absolutely. And that's literally. I have a bunch
you
of
can
new
enjoy the
jokes.
moment for now,
I have
you
a
know?
bunch of new jokes that I know will absolutely eat shit until I figure them out.
I think
yeah, no.
I've been talking to I don't know. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure some of this stuff out. But with Lawrence, for instance, that's been a very educational experience in terms of how to release something, how to grow something, and then there's two aspects, right? There's what I can do as a person who recorded it and released it, and that has limits. And then there's what I think he can do as a comic, but I don't know those limits. I don't know what's true, what's accurate. That's something a veteran comic would have to tell him or me. But you have your ideas of like what to do, and I think that's maybe one of the things in our scene. After talking to him and some other comics who are on the cusp of maybe recording some things, and they're just kind of, they have their thoughts, I have my thoughts, and we're talking, and we don't know. We're trying to sort it all out still. But I think maybe that's just one of the things we're missing in our scene, and I could be wrong. I think we have a big group of veterans that are killers, but didn't get their due for whatever reason. And maybe they don't realize it's a little faster paced now.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds a little insulting. I don't even like saying it that way.
No, it's not insulting. It's
what
a
I mean
realistic take.
Where they're holding, they've got what they perceive as that gold material, right? And I think we moved into this unfair generation, so it's lopsided. It's better for the viewer, the watcher. It's better for me as a fan.
Yes.
Because you guys are now required to turn around material in about a year or two.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that's all we need. That's one of our key missing ingredients here as a whole scene, is maybe connecting the dots and accepting that it is fast-paced now.
It is.
This year, I'm working on that. Next year, I'm working on these new things, and I'm compiling things. And if it's not working, I'm setting it aside or I'm killing it forever.
Yeah.
And we can bring it back in later if it feels right, but we're working towards this solid amount of time, whatever that may be. I think when you're new, you have years, and it's fine because you're
building.
Like I feel like it's going to take you a minute for that first solid hour of material. It's going to take you years, and that's fine. But now, my personal expectations for somebody like Lawrence would be, hey, I expect in about 2 years that you have another hour. Even if you're not recording it with me, you're ready to record with somebody else.
Absolutely. No,
and
absolutely.
that you're capable of that now. And I think scenes like in the Northeast, and now down in Austin because of the Rogan effect and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're getting that your material not only has to be good, but you have to build up a decent amount of it quicker than you really thought you had to. So I think those moments where you're stepping out, getting that pop, and then you're coming back and realizing, okay, there's still a lot to write.
Oh, yeah. Still
That's
plenty of
healthy,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have these people. I mean, the top tier people. I was just listening to some other podcast talk about Chris Rock bombing hard, between specials because he's just working on this material and realizing like that is the game now, is you're going to have these incredibly short-lived highs, right, to build your reputation off of, and then it's back in the trenches, and that's your life.
That's what reality is, man.
And like I said, I'm still learning. I could be way off.
Yeah.
I've got a lot to learn, but that's the perception I see right now. Is we got real lucky here in Dallas for a long time, where pre-social media and pre this current comedy boom, you could have like a solid hour and a half or 2 hours of material and just kind of interchange things in and out because there wasn't a way to see, are you doing the same stuff constantly?
Yeah, that's like way back in the day, headliners would have an hour and a half and they would do it for 10 years.
Right.
Because there's no, you're just going to other places and doing. I mean, dude, I'm 2.5 years in. It took me 2.5 years to get 20 minutes. You know what I mean? 20 minutes, not just 20 minutes. I mean 20 minutes that I know will kill. Because, anyone could, here's the deal. Especially with, and I'm not trying to step on newer people because I consider myself new to comedy. These, they come in and they're like, yo, let me get 15. I'm like, no. I'm like, here's the deal. No. Plain and simple, no. Not out of disrespect, but because unless you're an anomaly, there are people out there who really got it like that. Like Kenny Lee. Kenny Lee, I don't know if you know him. He's got it. He's new, but he's freaking got it, man. But he's an anomaly, where he's like, give me 15. I'm like, I know you could actually kill for 15, even if you're, newer or anything. Not saying he's like a newbie, but I'm like,
I know what you mean.
But other people, they're like, yo, let me give you 15. I'm like, here's the deal. If I give you 15, but in reality, you only have 5. Right? That means for 5, you're going to rock, and then for 10, you're going to suck. Now, what's going to happen is that everyone who saw you is going to be like, well, that sucked for a majority of the time. And then say you bring your friends, you bring your family, they're going to be like, well, that sucked. And then they're going to be like, you suck. And then not only that, they're going to be like, well, this show sucks.
Yep.
And then they're going to be like, oh, wait, stand-up comedy sucks.
Yeah. Oh.
And it just ruins everything.
This is that club they mentioned. It wasn't that good.
Exactly.
It
So
wasn't
I'm like,
that good.
So, and that's what I tell newer comics that are coming in. They want to do this time and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, for the longest time, for 2 years, all I did was 5 to 10 minutes. For 2 years, 5 to 10 minutes, interchanging stuff, blah, like changing, getting rid of jokes, getting new jokes, blah, until I found the 10 that could actually kill. And then I had to start doing a completely different set. And I'm like, if y'all can't accept that's what needs to happen, then you're going to rush yourself. And then you're going to be faced with a really tough day where you're going to go up there and you're going to think you got it. And then the crowd is going to react in such a way that it's going to invoke an emotional response that you're not ready for it because you're not self-aware. You're not tapped in with yourself. And then, buddy, then it's all a quiet ride home. You're going to be like, man, why am I even doing this? I should go back to my old job. Why am I even trying to chase this dream? Dude, like, why? Just accept. This is it, man. I would rather you kill for 5 than to watch you struggle for 10. You know what I mean? And that's okay. But some people... You know, everybody wants to be big. Everybody wants to be viral. That's what kills me.
Well, I was going to
now.
say, that's the other side of this faster-paced comedy thing that's really annoying, is people think that, like, I got to make moves. I got to do this. I got to do that. No. It's like, hold on. I was talking about my expectation of a veteran comic being able to turn around that material.
Yes.
To your point, what I've seen a couple of classes of comics now doing this podcast in terms of, you know, that new group of open micers, the people who drop off, the people who stay with it, and those people who can get into hosting and featuring, you know, and you realize so much of it may not even be the material. Your material might be great. Maybe you haven't found your way of delivery on stage yet. You haven't found out who you are as a comic.
Your voice.
And so that's why I think that first chunk of real material that someone would say, like, I'm a real comic that can put on a full hour, no problem, anytime. I do think that takes probably 5+ years.
Absolutely.
The first go around.
Absolutely.
Because you're figuring out all those little pieces. But once you've got that first if you can really say this is an incredible hour, well, now you know the tools. Now you know who you are, what you're capable of, how you can make them laugh in different ways. And that's why it should be easier. But yeah, that first year or two in, I haven't seen anyone, 2 years in who is the same as the first time I saw them.
Yeah, no.
Right? It
absolutely.
morphs all the time. And I give a lot of leeway. When I see a brand new comic, I'll watch them, at least 5 times before I form an opinion of anything. Because I don't know if you got lucky tonight. I don't know if you had a bad night. And I like watching you progress and seeing how you adapt and change and morph. And before you know it, wow, that's a totally different comic than the first one I ever saw.
Absolutely.
But it's exciting, man. It's we're really lucky around here to have all the opportunities that are here.
Absolutely. We're spoiled.
I'm in this situation now. I can't get to the shows I want to get to. There's just too many shows. And it's great. It's a great problem. You know?
We're very spoiled as a comedy community, and I think that's what a lot of people take for granted. You talk to any comedian that comes to pop in from New York or from L.A., and they're like, man, you get like 5 to 7 minutes at an open mic, and you don't have to pay to go up. And we're like, yeah.
That's nice.
And then also, like, you got to talk to these guys who are around in the parts of the country that don't have a scene. They're like, dude, I go to an open mic at a bar and just it's one every week.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And then you're just getting looked at by strangers, and it's the worst place to be. They're like, oh, I can come down here and do 4 or 5 spots a night somewhere, and you're like, yeah, it's just how we do it.
I was talking to Pazvar about that. He was just on the show and talking about how that may be one of the last pieces here to make this just an incredibly unique comedy scene, because it already is. But the one thing that is difficult sometimes here, if you want to go hit open mics and multiple shows, you're driving, there's not that too much that's close. And we were talking about, man, it would be incredible if you just had this run of things from, McKinney, Allen, Plano, Richardson, Dallas, where you could just hop on the Dart or something and just boom, 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 5, 6 mics.
Yeah. Do a set, get stabbed, then do another set.
Or build up an area. Maybe it's, Deep Ellum, maybe it's somewhere else. I'm only thinking Deep Ellum because Dallas Comedy Club is there. There's a bunch of nightlife. But an area where would it be crazy to have 3 clubs in Deep Ellum?
That would be sick.
It'd be kind of cool.
It would be cool. I just
don't
hope,
know that it would be. I would love to talk to the owners, get their take. Do they feel like that would be too much competition, or would that be actually extremely helpful? Because you know what, we only need to sell. If we do 2 shows, we're selling 600 tickets a night, and there's 8 million people in DFW.
I don't know, man. I think for Dallas it would be great. Fort Worth, I think they're very selective about.
Well, Fort Worth is running that experiment now, right? Because they have Hyenas Fort Worth and is it Big Laughs that just opened?
Which you're right.
I haven't been
great.
to the new club. I don't know much about it.
I'm just saying from a standpoint of like inside baseball.
Oh,
they don't like it.
Well, listen,
Some
all
people
know.
are like, "Oh, I heard you were at that club. Why? Why were you at that club?" And you're like,
hey,
whoa.
You're talking to the guy who has opened a fake comedy club for the last 3 years in a row.
Dude, I hated that so much.
I've done that the last 3 years in a row. And you know what? There has been a time where I have gotten messages from people who thought it was real, who were a little more prominent in this scene. And it was, maybe a little bit veiled threat of like, I hope you know what you're doing and who can perform there. And it's like, I hope you know this is April Fool's.
Dude.
And they're like, oh, funny. The only one that was not, well, I shouldn't say the only one. There was a lot of stuff that was not negative. It was very fun. But the club that did reach out one year, it was the manager at the time. And they were not rude or mean at all. They were cool. They were just very curious because it was set up like, I like posting it where I'm like this doofus who doesn't know like it's next to another club.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe 2 years ago, I made this whole thing. Like I bought a building, basically catty corner from the Addison Improv. And so the manager was like, sitting basically like, hey, that's incredible. Where's it going to be at? And I was like, oh, it's on the the northeast corner of Beltline and whatever that street is. Yeah. And they're like, you mean next to the Improv? And I think I was like, you know
where that Jimmy John's is at?
And I think I was a smartass, and I was like, no, it's not improv, it's stand up. It's a stand up club.
Oh my gosh, dude!
And then it just took them like one more message, and they got it, and they're just like, oh fuck you.
Yeah, dude, I hated that. I texted you, and I was like, dude, I'm so proud of you. And you're like, hey, bro, check the date. And I was so pissed. Yeah.
Hey, keep an eye out for it next year.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
I said,
actually really excited
for
that.
There's a new crop of people every year who are unaware of the joke.
Yeah. A bunch of people are like, dude, I can open.
That's my favorite part of that day is the inbox floods.
Yeah.
With performers, people wanting to do shows. I could do this. I could do that. I could do that. And it's all well-intentioned, so you feel like an extra big jerk. But it's hilarious. But, my goal, I was joking with my wife, my goal is to do the April Fool's joke every year so well that we actually do open a club and no one believes us and we have to like physically drag people there and be like, I swear, it's real, it's true.
That would be great.
But yeah.
Get Robin Williams to headline and be like, guys, we got everybody. Robin Williams is going to be there.
But I've gotten, just with this podcast even, I've gotten a little taste of some of the inside baseball drama between people who think they're high rollers around here.
Yeah.
And all I have to say about that stuff, it's like, look, it's just comedy. No one stays on the top of the mountain forever.
Exactly.
And you're better off just having a good time with this stuff and doing what benefits everyone. Because, do you want people to have your back when the times get tough, or do you want people to be like, oh, fuck that place?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't even have to say it. Just saying that, people already know the places that do that.
Couldn't agree with you more, man. And that's the thing, like, I'm just here to have fun, dude. Mm-hmm. All right, I want to be able to do this. I don't really care about the fame and the virality. As long as I can be funny, get work, get paid, I'm good. That's all that matters to me. Yeah.
Well, you're only 3 years in, man. Not even 3. So it should just keep getting better.
Yeah.
And once you finish the marathon, your world's gonna change, man. Everything's
that's
gonna
when I'm really
up.
gonna blow up. Yeah, that's when I'm really gonna blow up. Yeah.
All right, man. Let's cut it off here, dude. But I'm super excited. Thanks for. I mean, it's still a lot of work. We're talking like
absolutely.
We're talking like it's over already.
Yeah, no, it's not.
But I'm excited to watch your journey, and like it's motivated me so much more this go around. I'm
absolutely.
like, Kevin's doing it.
No, I'm going to do it.
We're
We
gonna
got
lock
to do
in.
this.
Let's do it, man.
It's gonna be
Hell
great.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Kevin Deanda on everything, right?
Yeah, so Instagram.
Dead Good Comedy.
Yes, Instagram's Kevin Ray Deanda is my full name, and then my production company that does comedy shows. We do a melting pot at the Dallas Comedy Club every first Friday of the month. It's called Dead Good Productions on Instagram. And also, if you want to keep in touch with my marathon training, it's Kevin Hates Running on Instagram. You will see me post videos, very realistic about my training. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and follow me to my marathon. And yeah, Travis, thank you for having me, man.
Dude, it's gonna be fun,
Thank
man.
you.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.